Hold your horses. Yes, we're on YouTube. Hi, YouTube.
Hi, YouTube.
Hey.
We look good, too.
Do we? Because I don't think we adjusted the camera.
I did.
This list sucks. This list sucks. This list sucks. This list sucks. It sucks.
Well, hey, everybody.
Happy Friday.
Welcome back to This List Sucks. Hey, boys. Thanks for joining us tonight.
What's up, fellas?
Good evening, gentlemen.
We got some very special guests tonight.
We do, but I'm Mike.
I'm JB.
And it's Friday night, so we're back with This List Sucks. And this is the week that we've literally been building up
The
to.
long fabled quadcast.
Yeah, it's both.
What were you going to say? Seeming.
Well, it feels like we've been building up to this for, at least days. Probably 2 weeks.
At least a few years.
I'm ready to disappoint.
Lee came prepared to disappoint.
Absolutely. Which he did previously.
Yeah. Did y'all catch the pre-stream on OnlyFans, onlylee.com over there?
It was such a sad wiener night.
Yeah. Oh, God.
Droopy.
It was just, nothing was working out.
It was
Yeah.
so sad.
Everybody has those nights, but I'm sure after the podcast, the post-show Only Lee stream is going to be a lot
I always
more
come back
exciting.
stronger.
Yep.
Hot.
But yeah, for those who are in disbelief, this is indeed Lee Stamper of onlylee.com.
It is.
To my right.
Welcome back, Lee Stamper.
Thank you.
Second appearance on the show. And alongside Lee Stamper, to my left, is the one and only Sean Smith.
Sean Smith, thanks for being
Hi,
here.
everybody.
Of the Lynchpin Barbershop in Indianola, Iowa.
Shameless plug.
Shameless plug.
Shameless plug.
I'm
Head up
not,
there.
I'm not afraid to do it.
Yeah.
I just got a haircut today.
Did you?
And it was glorious.
It was a fun time.
He massaged my scalp.
Oh my God.
And then he
clippers.
started rubbing my shoulders.
And then it just worked his way down.
Before too long, he was tweaking my nipples a little bit. And I thought that was weird.
You gotta have nipple play.
But
it's all part of the haircut experience.
His business is real.
You can't-
Also,
You got to
See,
keep going.
That's what I like. If you go to Great Clips, they're a little too firm, with the nipple. Yeah.
Well, I thought it was weird. And then he said, Mike, don't worry. I'm the on-staff barber for onlylee.com. And I thought, okay, this all makes sense to me now.
Yeah. It adds up.
he mostly works with pubes.
I'm gonna be booking an appointment just as soon as I possibly can. So
Sean, thanks for jumping into this.
Now I'm just,
Sorry, Sean.
everything's going through my mind of what could I possibly be doing with clippers on onlylee.com.
I can think of a few things.
Yeah, you can think of them, but that's why I'm stuck here. Just thinking about all of it, I guess.
Okay. So we're back. It's Friday. Listen, I've been thinking about this all week. If anybody actually listened to all 2 hours and 40 some odd minutes of our show last week,
We had quite a few, I believe.
man, may God have mercy on your soul.
Yeah.
And thank you. Because that was a really long show.
That was the longest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was the longest. And there's a part of me that wants to say, I feel bad, but not really. Because, we spent
It
a
was
lot
fun.
of time on the Pixies and Riley was super passionate about that. And that was fun to have him on. But really in Rainbows, and it's primarily because the three of us just basically got to shit all over you and your complete lack of love.
It was
for
not.
that radio.
Yeah, that is sad.
That is a misrepresentation there of what happened. Go back and listen. Judge for yourself. These guys were bullying me.
There was at least a little bit of cyberbullying that was happening.
It was direct. It wasn't very cyber.
But it was
It didn't
because
feel cyber.
You were
Listen.
sitting right in front of me.
You don't like Sultans of Swing either, so it's like
Too many times.
Similar.
Too many times.
That's understandable, though. I can relate to that for sure. The more
Thank you.
you play,
But you
a
don't
song
like
and
In
the more,
Rainbows?
no.
oh,
I'm saying the
Sultans of
more you
Swing.
play anything, it just loses its jazz.
And
man.
I
It
actually
loses
liked-
it loses the magic.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I liked In Rainbows. It was just that one song that you guys were all fucking blowing
Videotape.
loads over. And I was like, not on that same.
that is the
wavelength.
weakest song, I think.
Fuck
Yes,
you.
thank you. That's what I said.
bullshit.
I mean, I'm all for piling on JB,
What
but
did
it's
you
not
guys-
that good.
You guys fucking got together before we started this, and you're like, "Don't
We
worry,
actually
bro, I'm
didn't.
gonna protect
We
you."
didn't
No, we
discuss it.
We're just both
The
equally.
weakest song?
I think so.
Where do you put that album within the?
That's my favorite
I'm not
Radiohead.
fucking opening this can of worms. I promise you, I'm not opening this can of worms. But so that's your favorite Radiohead
That's
album.
my favorite one. Yeah,
But the weakest song on the album is Videotape.
I think so.
I agree with
Jesus. That's great. I mean, it's definitely the most simplistic, but I thought I love the lyrics on that. It was very impactful.
It's
for
still
me.
great. Yeah.
Yeah. But at any
when
rate,
did you become a lyrics guy?
Exactly. Yeah.
Is that maybe
Only
like
when it's
episode
convenient.
You
two or
deserve this,
three?
Mike. We're all piling on you now.
I know. I'm not. I'm still not. That's not what. Listen, that's not what
You
sells
are
me.
more than you thought. I feel like.
If I pay attention to them, if I'm diving into them with intention,
Yeah.
then I'm gonna ascribe more meaning to them, right? But outside of the scope of this podcast, I'm not fucking reading lyrics on my phone, whenever I'm
Right.
listening to music. And that's where the music still trumps
I
everything
think
for me.
Apple Music will play the lyrics while you're listening, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it will.
That is cool.
But that has become a big part of this podcast. I think I would imagine you guys, like every album you do dive into, even song, you have to consider the lyrics.
Yes.
We
Go into
do.
it
We've been
blindly,
getting, we've been
Yeah,
getting
we
better
both
at considering
have.
it. But
Yeah.
that was my thing was for me, like if the music doesn't grab me that much, even good lyrics are not going to
Yeah.
like win me over. You know what I mean?
Like
It's really hard to-
And I guess that's the difference between you and I, because even if the music is really shit, if there are lyrics that I can connect to or lyrics that I think are even remotely profound, then I'm more willing to give a shitty song a nod. And maybe that's what I've done with Videotape. Maybe I've given just a subpar song a nod
Quite
because
possible.
I like
That
the
has to be
lyrics.
it.
And if you haven't, but if you haven't heard something too, it's almost impossible to listen to the music and the lyrics and process the lyrics, process the whole song all at once.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's different sides of the same coin.
Agreed. But I also think that that's why you and I have developed these habits of doing cold listens and potentially multiple cold listens before we sit down and
Yep.
like really dive in because again, I'm kind of like you. A song is still gonna stick in my mind before I sit down to take notes. And then whenever I sit down to take notes, then I'll go through the lyrics. And sometimes like this week, I'm telling you right now, this week there's a song that I could listen to it, but then whenever I read the lyrics on it, I was like, fuck you, this song really blows.
Freebird?
No,
No.
it's almost that bad.
You're
though.
not that far off.
Yeah.
But no. Not
His
Freebird.
take is
So it's a
almost that
Skinner
shitty.
tune.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Listen though, we do need to do some announcements, right? So
Yes.
first of all, it was a new music Friday today, and
It was.
And Rex Todd has already texted me like since we've started the show. Eric Church dropped one of it seems like he might have fucking 3 new albums that he's
Really?
getting ready to drop. Or
Thanks
at
for
least
thanks for the warning, Rex.
Yeah,
I'll steer
exactly.
clear.
Yeah, I scrolled right past it.
Yeah. So Eric Church has a new album out today, and
Greta Van Fleet.
Thank you. Greta Van Fleet finally dropped their second LP today. The Battle of the Gates of Crazy Elven Warrior Hooved Klansman, I think is the name.
The most Led Zeppelin-y title you could ever think of.
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, imagine a Led Zeppelin title that never was, and that's probably the name of the album.
Yeah.
But I do like Greta Van Fleet.
Yeah, I didn't get to dive into that new album, but all the singles they put out are solid.
Our studio audience claims that it's good.
Yeah, it is good.
At least one
Yeah.
member of our studio audience has claimed that it's pretty good.
They
So
put out
that's
like
cool.
almost half of it, right? They put out like 3 or 4 tunes.
Yeah, there were
bunch.
3
Yeah.
or 4, I think.
Yeah, they dropped a bunch.
Yeah.
People shit on that band, but like, if you like Led Zeppelin's not making anything.
I know.
So
right?
if you're gonna hear
It'll
new Led
fill that
Zeppelin, it's
void.
good.
Yeah, so if you're
That's
into
the
Led
closest
Zeppelin,
you're gonna
it's going to
get.
be through Greta Van Fleet.
But also, I
So-
think one of the earlier episodes you guys were doing this, and one of the first or second singles that came out, JB put it great. Like, this is now with this material, they are finding their sound. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're, not,
Yeah.
they're no longer just sounding like, oh shit, these guys sound like Zeppelin. Now it's totally taking it and making it their own, and it's really good. I love it.
Yeah, totally agree.
I can't wait to dig in.
That was that first single. I can't remember what it was called, but it was really cool. It's like 6 minutes too.
yeah.
I mean, ballsy for a single. The
That-
first single you released.
The
you know?
intro, that whole song was phenomenal for sure.
Yeah, fantastic. So we did have after last week's debacle when we did fire our production manager.
Yeah.
He has since been rehired. Yeah, there he is. Yep.
Hi,
Yeah,
John.
reduced pay, I hope.
Yeah, reduced pay, reduced benefits. It was a
We
whole
give-
negotiation.
We give
process.
him at least 3 less shots of whiskey
Yeah.
every week.
Although if he asks really nicely, we'll give it to him.
I mean, we will because we're like that.
But we did receive at least one application
Yeah.
in response to that whole situation last week. So I did want to read that application off, and we can have some listeners weigh in and
Yeah.
let us know their thoughts.
Because let's be honest, this was a fucking strong applicant.
Yeah, he
I
really
mean, I'm
was.
not going to lie. As soon as this resume, if you could call it that,
Yeah.
found its way onto my phone, it was hard.
Yeah.
I do have a sentimental attachment though with
Yeah.
Justin, and so
There's that. But this is a hard job. Like Justin is, he's pretty a lot of work piled on each week.
yeah.
So
I mean, he gets pretty drunk most
Yeah.
weeks.
But now
So
he's
if he could
competing
have
with somebody who
someone
has
to-
a resume, though.
yeah, he
That's
didn't
tough.
have a resume. That's true. But anyways, Mr. Shane Parker, who's a listener of the podcast,
I'm excited. to
he
hear
sent
this.
over. Yeah, he sent over. He said, "Please accept this as a formal resume and application for an interview." He's even willing to interview
Jesus.
to be the next production manager.
Ballsy.
Of Sucks.
That's stand-up guy right there.
You should have Justin interview him.
That's what we're thinking. Yeah. Well, it says co-production manager. Justin said he's willing to
Yeah,
keep him
Justin
as a
said he's
co.
willing to share.
Carry that flag.
Yeah.
So skills, he has lifted left-handed and plays guitar right-handed.
Nice.
That's a good start. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a damn good cook. He's good at yoga. That's true. He is. He's a yoga coach. He studied at University of Iowa, studied podcast management. So
What hand did he study with?
left-handed study.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes
Uh,
all the difference. Though.
I agree.
What
Yeah.
what hand does he play pool with?
He didn't list that here, but that's going to be like one of the first few interviews.
Definitely.
Like,
Yeah,
Justin,
that's
will you
awesome.
make note? That
Top of
should
list, right?
absolutely
Yeah.
be an interview.
That's a
interview
gaping
question.
hole in his resume.
Yeah.
For
Yeah. How could you not? Shane. Experience. He owns a record player. That's a good start. Loves music festivals.
Nice.
Justin said he was going to test that out at Hinterland this year.
Solid.
He owns a computer and nice headphones.
Mhm.
And he's even listed his objectives to hang out while a podcast about shitty lists is recorded. Pretty specific. Yeah.
Check.
Uh, promote said podcast to the world. Good.
That's beautiful.
Source guest speakers. I like that.
I
Yeah.
like that too.
Find other shitty lists, blow up.
Fuck, man.
Dude, it's pretty convincing. I gotta say.
yeah, I gotta say that too, Shane. You're a fucking strong candidate, and there's a part of me that I don't even know if. I mean, I guess we're gonna have to have Justin interview him, but Justin's gonna ask him questions about stuff that Justin doesn't do.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know how that's really gonna work out. But
In defense of
fair-
I
Justin,
mean, let's do it. I guess. Fuck it.
in defense of Justin, though, I mean, this guy's doing yoga.
I know.
He's doing all this stuff, like going to music festivals. Is he going to have time for you guys? Like, Justin doesn't have a whole lot going on, so he seems like a better fit.
That is
That's
true.
so
The
true.
big
That is
question
something to
I
think
have
about.
after hearing all that is, he made it a point to say that he owns a record player, but does he have any records?
He did not address that.
That
you
is
know?
oddly.
I feel like that would be the follow-up.
Yeah, I also have records for which to play on that record player.
Yeah.
That's
would be important.
yeah, I'm concerned
Maybe
about
like
that.
a roundabout number of how many or
Yeah.
something.
I know he has a few actually. He did have a gift for you, Mike. We weren't sure. Did you actually buy
He's
rumors
bringing
or
gifts,
not?
dude.
Is this
Sign
bribery?
it.
Fuck, man. Jesus.
This is borderline, maybe legal issue here, but
I mean, it could be, but actually, so I have since picked up rumors.
that's what. Yeah, he had an OG
Good.
copy that he was just going to give you.
wow.
Yeah.
Fuck, Shane.
I think I do have 2 copies at home too. So
Yeah,
Wow.
so you're covered.
Yo.
If you didn't hear that, Shane, production manager Justin Jantis says he can be bribed.
He can be bribed.
So
He can be bribed.
I think he's saying he doesn't
And-
have rumors.
And for everybody that listened to me openly say 2 or 3 podcasts ago that I don't own rumors, and then I went out and spent $30 on it, and now all of a sudden everybody just has rumors falling out of their fucking ass.
yeah,
Thanks a lot. Like, thanks for listening. Thanks for sending me a text and being like, bro, I got a couple of copies of those.
I would have.
next time just say you don't have a record. Next time just say you don't have a record and just give it a couple weeks. It'll show up.
It'll fucking
Yeah.
just magically
There you
appear.
go.
It'll magically appear.
And then before we dive in, one other thing, we did forget to read Linda Brundy's email that she sent us a
Thank
couple
you.
weeks ago
Thank
about
you.
a snub. So
Yes.
she has another snub that we're going to be adding to our listener snub list. So I'm just going to read her whole email here because she sent a couple impassioned emails about Melissa Etheridge. This is email number 2. Okay. Hi guys. I just wanted to put in a plug for a Melissa Etheridge snub list snub episode. I sent you an email after a Britney Spears album made the sucky list because Melissa is at least 100 times better artist, singer, and songwriter than Britney. I don't think Britney should have been on the list at all, but I also think that as one of rock music's greatest female icons, Melissa's album, S in parentheses, should be higher on the list than Britney was. JB suggested that I choose which album of Melissa's should be on the list. This was extremely difficult for me because there isn't a song or album of Melissa's that I don't like. I whittled it down to her self-titled and critically acclaimed debut album and her 4th album, Yes I Am. I just couldn't decide which one deserved to be on the list more. Then I had an epiphany. They both deserve to be on the list. I'm curious to know what you both think. Both albums, neither albums, or a different album of hers. Still loving the podcast, Linda Brundies.
Thank you, Linda.
So we're gonna be adding that. Maybe we'll cover them both. At some point. Maybe
I
we'll
would-
do a 2 for episode or something.
That would be fun.
Yeah.
That'd be fun. Do a double bonus.
Yep.
Double bonus. Nothing but Melissa Etheridge.
But just be aware, Linda, it is being entered into the snub list file. So
Boom.
we're covered.
And at some point in time, and maybe for that bonus show, we should ask Linda if she wants to join us.
Yeah, that would be fun. Let me
I
know,
think that would
Linda.
only be fitting, right?
Absolutely. So I do want to get into this because, again, I'm like, we really don't target for everybody 90 minutes, right?
That's a good.
Like
That's a good
90,
goal.
90 to 105 minutes, I think is doable for most people. What we did to everybody last week is it's borderline fucking
A
cruel
brutal
and
assault.
unusual
Yeah.
punishment. Yeah.
Don't cut your guys' self short because this is fun to listen to. I've gotten that from a lot of people that I've thrown this podcast on. Like, you guys make it fun enough. You guys are gonna sell yourself short here.
Well,
We appreciate you
Yeah.
throwing that on. Thank you.
we do.
Yeah.
But before we jump in, like, this podcast is about music. We talk incessantly about, are we going to get summer tour? Are we not going to get summer tour for Fish Nerds? Are we going to get fucking music festivals? Are we not going to get
Music
music
in general.
festivals?
Yeah.
You know what we are going to get?
What's
and
that?
I'm fucking super excited about it. On really calendar, you're going to fucking do me like this. On April 24th, Saturday, April 24th at Mickey's in Waukee,
Oh,
we are going to
don't
get
go to that.
live music from JD.
That's true.
Pale
I
Blue
booked a
Earth
gig.
is
It's
gonna
actually
be-
not Pale Blue Earth. It's it's
you
another band.
fucking asshole.
Yeah. Yeah, it's another band that I'm playing with.
Which one is
they're
it?
fun though. Oh well, it's a band. It's like a bunch of guys that we don't actually play together very often. In fact, we never rehearse.
Okay.
Never have.
Everything that I just said, completely disregard.
You need a hype man.
No, don't disregard it.
The
Still
band
gonna
is
be there.
the band is billed as Wombat Love Machine. Not kidding. Yeah, that's real. But it's me and a couple other guys from
Is it
around
muscular?
town. Corpuscular. Yeah.
Machines.
Yeah. It's machine-esque.
But the good news is that, man, you're gonna fucking play a gig.
Yeah, it's
In
pretty
front of
exciting. It's
people.
been a little while, and yeah. So, if
So
you're in
what-
the Des Moines area, come on.
Yeah. So what does Wombat Love Machine? Is that what you said?
That's what I said. Yeah, you
Okay,
got
so
it.
what do you guys
It's
play?
infectious.
Is it just a cover band?
It's a covers. Yeah, it's a
Nice.
bunch of like rock covers from 70s, 80s, 90s kind of stuff. It's
Are you
fun.
gonna throw a Fish cover in there?
We usually do.
You're like, no, not with these guys.
They're doing
usually-
69 love songs front to back for
Yeah,
you.
we are doing that. We do usually play Roses Are Free, kind
Two-
of version of it.
Okay.
But no, so
No.
Yeah.
But I'll take Ween covers.
yeah, exactly. We're gonna
Any
do some of
day I'll
that.
take Ween covers.
All the guys in that band, they do like Fish, but we haven't tackled any of those. Like I said, we've literally never rehearsed. It's all just we show up and plug in and play. So, and they pay us for it for some reason.
You need a hype man.
I know
You're not doing
Yeah.
a good job of selling this. You're like,
Yeah, it's just
you're
gonna
throwing
be
a wet
rough.
blanket all over
Yeah.
your own show.
I know.
Either way, though, for real,
I'm in.
live, yeah, because live
Yeah, that would be
music is
awesome.
coming back.
Right on.
So, like, I'm super excited, and
It's a harbinger of things to come. Let's
yeah,
hope.
absolutely. So hopefully we'll have more of those just unceremoniously who gives a shit plugs
Yeah.
for all of the live music that you're going to be doing.
I can only hope. Yeah, that would be great.
I hope so too. And also, if you need a haircut and you're around this area, fucking drive down to Indianola, go see our boy Sean. Get
You
your
need to
haircut
get your
down
rocks
at
off.
Linchpin. Yeah,
Go
I mean,
to
if you need your
onlyview.com.
or if you just need your nipples tweaked. I mean, I'm sure that if you pay Sean $20, he'll just tweak your nipples
No,
for
no.
you.
Come on, Mike. Don't make it weird. Like,
Oh yeah,
he doesn't need
that's
people
Lee.
that only
why-
want nipple play.
That's why Justin Tully works there. He's the nipple-
That's your nipple guy.
yeah, he's the nipple guy.
Okay. Yeah.
But seriously, go down and see Tully and Sean at Lynchman Barbershop down in Indianola. And if you're in the neck of the woods for some ass play, you're only a few keystrokes away with www.onlylee.com.
And if you're in Phoenix, come see me.
Ooh.
He's gonna be
Live
performing
appearances?
with the
I didn't realize you were doing
machine.
stoop to that level.
I got shows at the Motel 6 lined up.
Oh,
He will leave a light on. for
Come on,
anybody.
dude. Oh, at least go Wyndham, bro. Come on. Should we do this?
Let's dive in.
385, the first album this week from 1977, The Ramones, Rocket to Russia. Rolling Stone says the Ramones wrote their third album on tour as they took the gospel of 3 chords and ripped denim beyond New York's 5 boroughs. Rocket to Russia was also their first true studio triumph. An exuberant, polished bottling of the CBGB stage napalm of Ramones and Leave Home. The razor-slashing hooks bring out the top 40 classicism in Rockaway Beach and Sheena as a punk rocker, plus the lonely boy poignancy of Joey Ramone's vocals in I Don't Care and I Want to Be Well. JB, what'd you think about this? You lead this off. I'm most curious about where you're going to go with this.
Same.
I fucking loved every minute of listening to this.
Yes.
Every minute. Every minute.
Yeah, seriously. The whole thing was fantastic, front to back. I listened to this one probably 3 or 4 times this week. It was the first one I listened to, not only because it was the first on the list, but because when I was looking through, I was like, hell yeah, I'm going to put the Ramones on, you know?
Were you familiar with it?
So that's kind of, I wasn't super familiar with this particular album. I'm very familiar with the Ramones sound in general, but I guess I probably know, you know, more of their hits, I guess, you know, like the Blitzkrieg Bop and things like that, you know, just the go-to. So, I mean, it's that sound, you know, it's pretty much that same sound throughout. It's not like they were super, you know, wide ranging in terms of their overall sound, but it's the Ramones and you love it. So yeah, I loved it.
Yeah. Lee Stamper, what'd you think?
I loved it. And I'm super glad that you did as well.
Yeah. Were you worried I wasn't going to?
Well, there's certain people in this group that aren't super big fans of it. So on an unrelated note, if you can just cut Sean's mic for the next like
I didn't know
15
that.
minutes or so, that would be cool.
Interesting.
I've listened to this album like 100 times going back to like when I was younger. So
This
I'm
one?
super familiar with
This
it.
album?
Nice.
Yeah, like
Really?
I know this like the back of my hand. Like I listened to it like
Wow.
a couple times just to refresh, but like
yeah.
I love it.
So who in your life brought the Ramones into it? 'Cause I can't
who
believe
the
it was
fuck
your
would do
mom.
that to you?
I'm the one that got into it, but to speak to that, like this is an album that my mom and I listen to a lot.
Seriously.
It is the kind of like, which this doesn't sound good, but it is like the kind of punk rock that you can like listen to with your mom.
This is
mean,
punk
that's-
rock you could listen to with your mom.
It sounds horrible when you say that, but she
doesn't
loved it
sound
too.
Horrible. I mean,
No.
listen to it and you'll definitely get that.
It doesn't sound very punk though. Like
No, I mean,
You know
the
what I mean?
music sounds super punk, but the lyrics are not.
Like pretty cookie cutter.
Yeah. I mean, I don't
The-
want to say family friendly, but they
Pretty
are.
family friendly.
It is kind
Yeah.
of family
the
friendly.
thing that's weird about it is like the instrumentals sound very punk, but the vocals are almost like 50s style, like pop songs or like doo-wop-ish kind of like.
Well, I was gonna say it's almost pop punk.
It's
Yeah,
like
you know?
a sock hop punk or something. Like I don't know. That also doesn't sell it super well, but I love it. I could totally see why you wouldn't be into it because it's not very complex.
Yeah.
If you don't like that sound, it's never going to change. So if you're not into that vibe,
I don't know, man. Well,
What'd you think, Sean?
I say that
Yeah.
because the way that you made that sound was like, I absolutely cannot stand this thing. Which going into it, first spin, that's how I felt.
That's how you felt. So you had a preconceived notion that you didn't like the Ramones.
I knew it
Yeah.
because I mean, like you said, the hits that they had put out, you know, that I had only been somewhat familiar with leading up to this. This is the first time I spin through a whole Ramones album.
Sure. Probably me
And-
too.
Yeah, and their singles are staples. They're super popular songs. They are fun, but
Yeah.
it just wasn't necessarily my style of what I would listen to in my free time.
I get it.
So when I got into this album, I kind of went in with that little bit of a visor on, like, all right, like, let's listen to this. And it's a super, super fun album for the first track on my first spin. That's how I felt. That's how I felt, right?
And then the rest kind of sounds the same, is what you're saying.
It all kind of bleeds together. And I actually wrote in my notes for like that first track with Creed and Hop. It was like super fun. It's like got stuck in my head. Rockaway Beach. I'm like, the count when we talked about that
Yes.
earlier.
Yes.
Like, come to find out that those were recorded after the fact because his mic was not hot. So when you go 1, 2, 3, 4, and then it lags for a second, and then it comes in,
The
and then it
music
comes in
comes
on
in.
tempo, that's still just a little bit behind of what his count was. Brutal to me.
I didn't know that was added in afterwards.
Yeah, I didn't either until I was talking to Mike
Did you-
about it.
Wait a minute, though. When you listened to that, you weren't like, okay, so they're
Did you
kind of
think
this off.
that at all?
1, 2, 3, 4.
No, it was definitely like out of time, but I figured that was just the Ramones.
So
you know, they're
you thought
not
it
like
was punk.
super. Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
that I was kind of talking about in text when I was like, I can't figure out if these guys are like just shitty or if they're doing this on purpose. You know what I mean? Like, this is a punk rock thing to do. Who gives a shit what the count sounds like? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a good. Yeah.
And then come to find out, like, the guy's mic wasn't even hot,
Yeah.
and so they did it after the fact. That kind of like let me down because I tried to convince myself so much that these guys are just they're very smart about what they're doing, marketing almost. Like who gives a shit what the count is?
give it a punky attitude.
Exactly.
To that same exact kind of idea, a lot of this stuff, this is going to get a little music nerdy, but a lot of this stuff, like the instrumental sections are in like weird time signatures because it's like they do like a hit and then they do 4 beats of a chord and it ends up being in like 7/4 or 6/4 a lot of the time.
Yep.
And I'm like, I can't decide if they're intentionally doing that or if they just play a riff and then they only know how to count to 4 on the chord. So they're like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. So it ends up being an odd timing, but I don't know if it's on purpose or on accident.
Cut it down like that, it goes to an extra timing. But yeah, when you span it out, it's still 4/4. Like, yeah, the way that works.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just tough. And then when Here Today, Gone Tomorrow, when it was like, party's over. like, it's relatable, but it was just brutal for me to listen to. I felt like it wasn't really, it was a breakup song. And I think they noted in the description, like the vocal presence of that song was supposed to be, pretty melodic and a standout part of the album. And I was like, again, not my style of music. So that's not the breakup song I'm going to go jam.
Sure.
And I am in that point in life. You know what I mean? That's not what I'm feeling.
Yeah.
But
you're like, I'm going to put on the Ramones Here Today, Gone Tomorrow. Just really soak it up. It was weird that I feel like this was kind of early in the album to have like a ballad song on a Ramones record.
And that's kind of why I wrote Party's Over, because it was like it came out the gate hot with both of those first 2 tracks, and then it's like, that's the one that was like, oh.
Yeah.
Brutal, man.
Musically, it was a lot more interesting though than Cretin Hop and then Rockaway Beach.
It was a step away from everything I thought I was going to get.
Yeah.
So
I actually liked it.
Yeah.
And I was
I
like,
did too.
acoustic guitar on a punk record. What's
I know.
going on
And then
here?
if you listen in the background, there wasn't an electric that was mic'd up, but it had a ton of sustain on it, and it was just really quiet in the mix. And I liked that a lot. Like the balance between the acoustic and that electric, it was really good. Like that $30,000 production budget paid off.
Yeah, they did have a big production budget for this. I remember reading about that too.
Which we had mentioned that too. It's like you spend $25,000 to $30,000 on production, or you get allotted that, I suppose. I don't know if they spent that much, but going back to the first 2 records before this, it wasn't that much different. I feel like the first 2 albums had really good mixes overall. If they would have just turned the guitar up in the mix a little bit, it would have been just fine for them. I think you got a lot more low end with the bass and the drums on the first 2 albums. And this, I don't know, the mix didn't really do it for me, especially when you see that they had that big of a budget.
Yeah.
For me anyway.
Because it kind of worked before.
Yeah,
I kind of
why
agree
not?
with you. It's like, what did your 30,000 really buy you there?
Yeah.
Which is a lot of fucking money.
That's
in
a lot of money for
1977.
production. Yeah.
I thought I could have used some harmonica.
Ah,
I think that would have really
God damn
added
it.
to.
I loved this record, dude.
The first
I
harmonica
loved
joke of the night. I'm sure there will be plenty.
Oh, there's more.
Yeah. What was your take, Mike?
It wasn't a joke, by the way.
Are you familiar with it?
No, I was not familiar at all. And in fact, my familiarity with the Ramones in general is so next to nil. But and we've talked about this before. Blondie is what kind of made me start to dive into the Ramones, and just the idea that Blondie and the Ramones were all hanging out together and that they were making music together. I couldn't make rational sense of it within my mind. And so that's what forced me to basically jump into the Ramones, and thinking about them and Blondie performing at the same night in the same room to the same crowd. It really intrigued me to kind of try to understand the why behind it. And after I listened to the first Ramones album, I thought to myself, I don't need to understand the why, because it's just fun.
Yeah.
Like really, really fucking fun. And this album worked for me on that level. And it worked for me both lyrically and musically, because musically it's super simple. But it's so much fun. And I have to say, to me, in my mind, if you're only going to listen to one track on this entire album, go listen to We're a Happy Family.
I love it so much. It's
That
my
We're a
favorite.
Happy Family. We're a
songs-
happy.
Oh, that fucking song smashes so hard.
That
It's so
song
good.
and the one right before it were probably my favorites. And
Sheena's a punk rocker.
That was fantastic.
It's great. It's great. This, I think you were the one that said, kind of like that doo-wop or surf rock or whatnot. It really seems like these guys were heavily influenced by Buddy Holly, right?
Yeah.
But they were like, I mean, Buddy Holly's cool, but fuck that. Like, we can make music like that that's just way more aggressive and way cooler.
Yeah, maybe Beach Boys too,
I
a
was
little
just-
bit. Tell you the truth.
I
Yeah,
said that this morning.
Yeah, that's
I was
what.
like, I had a real like strong Beach Boys vibe off of that.
Yeah.
well, that "Do You Want to Dance" song, the Beach Boys
absolutely.
played that one as well.
Did they?
Yeah, that was on one of the records that Mike and I covered on the podcast.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah,
on the
because that was
first
an
one.
R. Yeah, because it's an R&B song, like originally from 1958.
It's a Bobby Freeman tune. I
Right.
thought it was a Beach Boys song. Like when they started playing it, I was like, "What the fuck? They're covering Beach Boys?" And I looked into it, and it wasn't. But yeah. But I think there were more than one tune on this that kind of sounded Beach Boysy. You know.
Very
I
much
agree.
so.
I agree.
And I
Speaking
think
of
that
sorry, go ahead.
I think the thing that's important too about them is that, like when I said earlier about like this is punk rock you can like listen to with your mom.
Mhm.
It's like the Sex Pistols weren't going to bring punk rock full mainstream. You're not going to get like a hardcore punk band to like make a movement. You need something that's going to be popular. And I think that like what the Ramones likely did is provide a lot of contracts to future punk bands and stuff because I think they made them more commercially interesting and acceptable for labels and stuff.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like I think their contribution to punk is maybe even greater than the quality of their music, you know.
Yeah.
Incalculable for sure.
I agree. I
Yeah.
mean, everybody knows the Ramones, like you said. Whether you're in a
Man, that logo is iconic. Like people that don't even listen to the band wear the Ramones shirts.
Oh
Like,
yeah, that the presidential seal
Yeah.
logo.
It's probably the number one shirt sold at Target.
or
Yeah.
Walmart
and Hot Topic too.
Yeah, and Hot Topic. Yep.
But back-
Speaking of the family friendly lyrics, before I listened on headphones, I was listening to the song Ramona, and I was like 100% sure that they were saying little Ramona, she's always trying to come over. I think I'll try to bone her.
same. And then I was telling Mike that too. Like I thought that it was going to be a little more edgy.
Yeah.
And then you go look at the lyrics and
It's
was it a
phone.
letdown?
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's like it's not. I mean, it's punk rock still, but
Yeah.
They're gentlemen.
It's very
Phoner?
family friendly.
Try to phone her.
yeah.
Sounds like a Beach Boys
but back
song.
to least token also. Like I feel like they did set up so many contracts for other punk bands, but with this album, when it sold, it didn't do the greatest, and they were like pushing that off onto the Sex Pistols. Like they tried to blame them for taking punk rock and making it punk. I feel like
Too
they,
punk.
They dirtied up the image. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I feel like I don't know. I kind of agree with what you're saying, but at the same time, I feel like that's why the Sex Pistols became what they were, because there was a market for that other side of punk music, you know?
Yeah.
And then
That's true. And I think the Clash were doing the most like musically interesting stuff with, and they were the first ones that I'm aware, or them and the Specials, where they were mixing reggae and punk too. So there was a
like
lot
the birth
going
of
on.
ska.
There was a lot going on in punk, but I think
Yeah.
their contribution is definitely significant.
What do you I mean, and again, not to sell this short or anything, but you know, keeping within the idea of keeping this thing at a reasonable time frame. What do you think about the placement of it? Like, I mean, do you like it? Do you want it on the list? Do you not want it on the list?
I want it on the list for sure.
Okay.
And I could probably see it going up. I'd be interested to see what other Ramones are on there.
The self-titled album has got to be,
Pretty high, right?
I mean, top 200.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. The self-title is definitely going to be on. So
Yeah.
I think this is good placement.
I think this
one.
is pretty good. I wouldn't be pissed if it was 50 up from here, to tell you the truth. If it was between, like 330 and 350, I'd be
Yeah.
cool with that.
when they first put this list out in 2012, it was at 106.
This one?
This
Yeah.
one?
This album.
Holy shit. Wow.
Wow.
Was that 2012 or 2003? Because there's been
Or-
two versions.
Was there two in 2012?
Well, there was the 2003.
In 2012,
and then
it
they
was
revised
It
106.
was 106, and then it's 385 now.
Fuck.
Yeah. 2012 was like a revision of the 2003 list. I don't
Right.
think 2012 was a full new
But how
list.
much of a yeah? So I didn't go back to look in 2003, so I'm not positive. on
106 is fucking crazy.
That's
But
high,
if
right?
it was
Yeah, that's
on
too
that
high.
in the 2012, I guarantee it had to be on 2003 too.
Right, you
Because
would
Yeah,
think.
absolutely.
I definitely wouldn't put this like top 200. It's
No.
fun to listen to, but like that's too many. There's too many
But
things you're
I feel like
snubbing.
that's about it. It's just fun to listen to.
Yeah.
And so when I went into it, come back to that, I was texting you like, this is a turd of an album. man. But then the more I listen to it, take it for what it is. It's a fun album. It is absolutely.
And to Sean's credit, he did say that he listened to some live Ramones and that he kind of got the whole vibe and the energy of it.
Oh,
too.
and Mike and I touched on that this morning when we talked about it. I feel like you only understand right to your perception, right? So trying to envision myself being in 77, like would I be at a Ramon show? Like I can't answer that necessarily.
Yeah.
But going back and listening to the live stuff, like dude, a dark, dirty venue, I could totally see myself kicking some back and being at a Ramon show. That would be fun
For
as hell.
sure.
And I'd be listening to like Bad Company on the way there. Getting
Yeah.
because that's kind of how it is now. Anyhow, you just listen to everything. But that was my biggest gripe of this was the shit that came out in '77. I couldn't convince myself that this was going to be what I'd be into.
Yeah. I get that. I don't hate the placement of it. I don't know that I would necessarily move it up. And if it,
Terrapin Station came out in '77.
Did it really?
Jesus.
There's
Right?
a lot of.
That's literally your number one album of all time.
Number one song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, my bad.
Yeah. But yeah.
Jefferson Airplane put out, was it Flight? Yeah. Flight Log. Pink Floyd put out Animals.
Yeah, that's true.
Rumors came out in
Fuck, dude.
'77.
Yeah, and Animals isn't even on this fucking
Exodus
list.
came out in '77. Foreigner put out their self-titled.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't be listening to this either.
Right.
That's a good point.
It'd be hard. It'd be hard.
I
For
definitely
me-
wouldn't be listening to Rumors.
Yeah, I know because
I don't
like
know. I
Chris.
probably would. But to me, this album is probably somewhere around 400. So I think it's in the neck of the woods.
This was
for
also
me.
the second album that the Ramones put out in '77. The second album that they put out came out in like February of '77. This came out in November.
and that came out in November.
So
That's
do we?
They're
crazy.
fucking busy
They
little
recorded it in
boogers.
3 months.
So are we all keeping this on the list then?
It sounds
Yeah.
like it. Yeah.
I'll keep it on the list.
Yeah, I'm okay with it being on the list because I do think that there's a lot of fun and there's a lot of,
It definitely deserves it.
I mean, semi-iconic songs on here, right?
I would love a vinyl if I could find one too.
I would too.
Look
would
on
too. I'm
Discogs
down
a
with
little
that.
bit. They were around like $100, so you could get like shittier copies for like $75-$50.
Jesus,
Yeah.
that's a lot though. I'll fucking wait for a reissue.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any day now.
Move on.
Yeah.
384. The Kinks. The name of the album is The Kinks Are the Village Green Preservation Society. That's a mouthful. 1969. While their British invasion peers, the Beatles, the Stones, the Who, were getting psychedelic. Those were some hefty peers. That's why I laughed a little bit there.
Mhm.
We're getting psychedelic. Roy Davies took his band for a pastoral retreat with witty portraits of quaint English small town life fading away like big sky. Nobody bought it, but Village Green went on to become one of the Kinks' most influential statements. With "You Really Got Me" and "All Day and All of the Night," we were saying, "We're here, we're gonna grab you." Davies told Rolling Stone. The music on Village Green says, "Come find us."
Fucking spoiler. I couldn't find him.
You wouldn't have found him.
No.
Yeah.
I still haven't.
Yeah. And we kind of agreed the last time we talked about the Kinks. We said very similar thoughts on that one, and I have a feeling tonight's just going to be kind of a recap of that because
Yeah.
Really?
this was
Are you
the
there
one-
too?
Yeah, I mean, I think I liked this one a little bit more than the last one. Which
Yeah, I
the
did.
last one
Same.
was either right before this or right after. I can't remember. These were simultaneous or not
Whatever.
simultaneous. You know what I mean?
They were really, really close
Yeah.
together. I want to say the other one was in the low.
But I mean, when they were
Excuse me, low
released, like they
400s.
released these albums one
Kinda
after
back
the
to
other.
back, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, were they really?
Yeah, the one that was on there before, and then this one, they were. It was called
Jesus.
Something New from the Kinks, is what that one was.
Yes.
called.
Yeah. The first one that we heard.
And I
Ugh.
feel pretty similarly about it. I want to say there were a couple tunes on the first half that I actually really kind of liked, and I was pretty hopeful. Do you remember Walter? I think that was a pretty decent tune. But actually, my favorite song, I had a couple favorite songs off it. Picture Book was the third song. Sounds exactly like Green Day, Warning. Like dun 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 dun. It's exactly the same thing, like note for note almost until the last beat of the measure.
I'm pretty certain that was one of like the singles off this album, wasn't it?
I think
Yes.
so,
One
yeah.
of the
But that song kind of reminded me of Cream a little bit.
picture book.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could do that.
Yep.
Definitely.
And then
It was
And-
Beatles for me.
Beatles. Yeah, that's the
whole
thing.
Yeah, the whole album has this weird like Beatles undertone. You know what I mean?
Big
Especially
time.
for what was happening at that time.
Yeah.
A
That's
lot.
what psychedelic music was then, though. Like that.
Fuck that.
It was just the Beatles.
That's a shitty excuse. Yeah.
It was. That
Oh,
was the whole thing. That was the vibe. That was. I mean,
That's kind of what I wrote in the very first song, which was the name of the album. I was like, definitely is like catchy melody, good harmonies, but for some reason it just feels like a Beatles knockoff to me.
I felt
Yeah.
the whole album felt that way.
The whole
I was
album.
talking about that. Like the whole album feels like if the Beatles were to try to cover other genres.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like that's what I got through the whole thing.
See, to me, this felt like a fucking sad ripoff of the Beatles. Like a band that had listened to the Beatles a ton and they thought, man, this music is really good. Let's record music just like this.
I feel like everybody felt that way based off the sales of this album. Like they flopped.
Yeah.
Yeah, it didn't work out.
Mm-mm.
But you can't compare everything to the Beatles. I mean,
Well, you can when it sounds exactly like them.
Yeah. Thank you.
Maybe we should though. Maybe,
Thank you.
maybe we should just compare.
I will
everything
say
to the Beatles. Yeah, you know what's good, but the Beatles are better. Sorry, go ahead. Sean.
the one thing they're missing that the Beatles had for sure was a good producer. Like if they had a George Martin type, like the sound on this to me was pretty bad other than the drums. I didn't feel like it was very well produced at all. Like I think they could have done much. I think they could have put together a lot better of an effort with a better producer.
I disagree. I mean, you could definitely put forth more effort with a better producer, but I think this thing was mixed really well.
You do, really?
I do.
I didn't think it was terrible
I hated
from a
it.
production standpoint.
Interesting.
Like with Picture Book, actually, like when you listen to the drums on that record, they actually removed the snare. Like they use a snare drum, but the snares actually open or close rather. No, open. They don't even take the snare on the drum. And then
Weird.
they had a 12 string in the background that I think it's mixed perfect. Like you can tell that it's a 12 string,
Yeah.
but it's not overpowered in your face.
It didn't necessarily stick out to me either way. So whatever that says,
Yeah.
you know.
I mean, it definitely fits the time frame. I feel like
There were
the
parts of
sound is
this.
there.
Yeah, there were parts of this that I wrote down, like under Johnny Thunder. To me, it sounded like early Floyd, like some Syd Barrett, Pink Floyd, you know? And
well, that's the thing. That's what Pink Floyd was doing too. Like Piper at the Gates of Dawn has that same sound, that similar psychedelic sound of the Beatles. And it's garbage compared to the Beatles. Like you can't really play that game, I feel like.
Yeah.
listen, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
But there are tracks on this album that feel to me like even down to the instrumentation on the track, like it's identical instrumentation to what you're getting on a Beatles track. And that's the part that's annoying to me because sound is one thing. And I get what you're saying, right? It's this era and so many bands were kind of chasing that same thing because everybody was living in the same time and they were all going after that same goal. I get that. But fuck that. Like not when you're getting to the point where it's like
You're blatantly playing something that sounds like another album.
Yeah.
and especially when you're using identical instrumentation in a way that's nearly identical to something better. And here's the other thing. I'm not faulting them for doing that, right? They were all living in the same time. They were all living in the same location, right? These are both British bands, you know.
You're just saying the execution wasn't there.
Yeah.
You
Because
could have recorded this album without doing the same guitar tones. You know what I mean? Using the same type of amps. It all does sound super similar.
but if
Yeah.
it all sounds the same to me and I'm going to sit down and listen to something,
gonna make you want to listen to.
yeah,
something.
and that's what this album made me did, right? Like this album made me think of, oh man, I should go and listen to Sgt. Pepper's.
That's kind of
Pepper's is really good.
And that was kind of the same conversation that we had last time, which is like exactly the word for word. The same thoughts I had this time was like almost every song here, there's a band that I can say it sounds like, whether it's the Beatles or whether it's Cream or whether it's something. And whatever that band is, I like their version of it better. You know,
Better.
With Last of the Steam Powered Trains, we talked about that a little bit too. It
Jesus.
sounds like the Beatles are covering.
What did you? I want to ask them because we've hashed this out.
Did you guys make any notes on that song specifically?
Last of the Steam Powered engine, or what is it? Last of the Steam Powered Trains.
So
I
actually-
already heard you guys talking about it. So
Yeah,
I'm
so
gonna
you
stay
can
out.
you can recuse yourself.
I didn't have a Beatles tune that I wrote down, but I wrote down that it sounds like Smokestack Lightning. That song, I think it's Howlin' Wolf or something.
Fucking
That's-
A, that is
dude,
powerful.
I applaud you
I know.
because
Well done,
when I
dude.
first
That's
listened
amazing.
to it, I'm like, that sounds like the Beatles are covering CCR.
Yes, I thought Creedence.
Okay.
And like when you hear that guitar come in, it's like, oh, Susie Q. It's all there. But that's because they both ripped off fucking Howlin'
They
Wolf.
both ripped
Like,
off Howlin' Wolf.
Yeah, Smokestack
okay,
Lightning
yeah.
is where that all originates from.
Yeah, you
that's
smashed it.
Props on that.
Okay,
Yeah,
See,
cool.
because
Right on.
our brains were in the same place. Because
yeah, it was like
you said
CCR.
you said Susie Q. I thought Run Through the Jungle,
which start
both
off
of
very
those
similar.
songs
Yeah, those are
sound
similar.
Right
really
there, yeah.
similar.
And those are both kind of like rip-offs of Smokestack
Of
Lightning.
Smokestack
definitely.
Lightning.
Yep.
Yeah,
That's
so
funny.
well done, dude.
Yeah, that's what I wrote down on that one. So,
One
So-
of the big standout things, with this album, when I first listened to it, I didn't look into it. It was one of those cold listens, and I got this overwhelming sense of sarcasm through all the lyrics.
Yeah.
And that's just how I took it anyhow. But then once I actually dive into the lyrics and read them and learn a little bit more about the album, kind of let me down that it wasn't sarcastic. Like with the Do You Remember Walter, coming back to that, I love the fact that if that song itself, when you listen to it, it can be kind of perceived different ways. You know what I mean? Like it can either be sarcastic and kind of like, yeah, I bet you're fat and married now. Like, you know, you kind of taking a jab, but at the same time, it's got a very endearing feel to it. If you look at it as like a reminiscent kind of song that's talking about an old friend.
Yeah.
And I loved that about a lot of these songs, that they have different kind of vibes. It's very subjective to how you want to hear it. And I like that. I was really receptive to that.
That's
because
cool.
That's what I want in music anyway.
Yeah.
Like whether it means the same thing to me that it does you.
That's one of the best things about it.
That's
just
my
the
favorite thing.
subjectiveness of it, and people
And
get different things from
I
it.
saw a quote about that song exactly, and it said, it finds the universal in the specific.
Ooh.
Mm,
And that's
juicy.
nails it, man. And I love that
Yeah, I like
about
that too.
music. Like that's the beauty of it.
I agree.
Yeah.
And Big Sky is another one. Like, thank you, sir. You can somewhat get it's a very vaguely written song to where, is this about God?
Mm-hmm.
Or is this what he claims to be, just standing on the balcony at a hotel, you know, looking down at all the little people? But it's a good way to kind of defer that religious stance at that time.
I'd be interested to know what you two think compared to the previous Kinks album.
So yeah, while you were gone,
I'm sorry.
we said I do think I like this one a little bit more.
Okay.
You know, but largely I have the same thoughts. But there were just a couple tunes on this that I liked a little bit more, like Picture Book and Animal Farm stuck out to me enough that I like it a little bit more.
I agree that
How about-
I like this one a lot more.
Do you?
I think
Yeah.
I would take the previous one off the list now, knowing
I
that this
agree.
one is on the list. I don't think the Kinks need to be like overly represented with like 4 albums or whatever it's going to end up being.
Well, but they're so different too from that earlier stuff to this album.
Yeah.
You know
This
what
is
I
just
mean?
a lot better to me. To me, it's like significantly better.
The word over-representation sticks out because there's a part of me with so much that's been left off that we've already covered in terms of just the handful of snub albums that we've done and the stuff that we haven't done yet. I want to celebrate Ray Davies. Like I want him to be on this list because I really do think he's a really, really supremely talented songwriter, but fucking like honestly for me, I'm going to replace the first one, which was 478, by the way. Like I dug back and I looked up Something Else by the Kinks comes in at 478. I'm actually going to put this one at 478
And kick that one off.
Yeah, and kick that one off.
So
I
there
agree.
has to
That's
be
fair.
another one on here though, right? There has to be.
There has to
You
be,
really
because-
got me.
I
Yeah,
bet there's 2 more.
We haven't heard
Two
Lola.
more.
We haven't heard You Really Got Me.
You probably like the Raincoats version of Lola better, huh?
I fucking loved that.
That was
Raincoats
fantastic,
version.
yeah.
God damn it.
I just
think I
That song
personally,
was so good.
I personally can't stomach the idea that there's no Tool albums. There's 2 Frank Zappa albums, but there's going to be like 3 or 4 Kinks albums.
Yeah.
Fuck
That's
all that
crazy to
shit.
me.
I agree with
But
you.
that's
Yeah.
why this list sucks.
Oh, shameless plug. Thank you.
Turn
Yep.
it back around. Anchor FM.
Love you.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Hey,
thank you.
thanks, Sean.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Sean.
he's totally right. Hit
I
us up
know.
at anchor.fm/this list sucks. I barely am getting that right still. 30 fucking episodes in. Anchor.fm. I need to write it down on my hand each
I
week
know,
or something
right?
like that.
Yeah, somebody
But,
besides me needs to start leaving voicemails.
Yeah. Yes. Please. But Lee, please keep sending those in too. But other people should go on there and send us voice messages. It's super easy. You can do it from your phone. Go on the anchor.fm/this list sucks. Send us a voice message and we'll play it on the podcast. Unless
It's racist.
Yeah.
We won't play racist shit.
Yeah,
Not at all.
they've cut like 7 of my voicemails out.
Yeah.
You can also send us an email to thislistsucks@gmail.com, or you can interact with us on social. Look us up on Facebook. And yeah, absolutely.
should we do
Send us
Rex's
stuff.
thoughts before we move on?
Yes,
Yes,
please.
yeah, because we've already missed a couple. So why
Yeah.
don't you go?
I got it.
Okay, go
Yeah.
for it.
Okay, so let's first read Rex's thoughts on Ramones Rocket to Russia.
Thank you.
Rex says, "Love it. The simple chords and beats hit hard on this album. It's simplistic and beautiful in that reason alone. That's all I'm going to type about this because I'm just going to listen again to this beautiful gem.
Oh,
R.I.P. Ramones."
yeah.
And then about the Kinks, he says, "Catchy bubblegum 60s pop is fun, grabs a hold of your ears. The later you get in the album, it gets a little trippier. I kind of like this album. It's easy to listen to. You can see when they started experimenting with their music. So he's pretty lukewarm on it, sort of, from that description, I would say.
I think that's appropriate though.
Yeah, I would be curious, Rex, next week, whenever you send us your thoughts, what are you going to do with, like, do you agree with the notion of let's replace 478's Something Else by the Kinks with this album by the Kinks and keep it on the list, but just call it good with that? I'm really curious to see what Rex thinks about that.
Yeah, I agree.
So with that being said,
Moving on.
383.
383.
1998, Massive Attack's album Mezzanine. Rolling Stone says, the Bristol, England collective that invented trip hop, Daddy G, Mushroom, and 3D got even heavier on Mezzanine. They turned the Cocteau twins Elizabeth Fraser into a soul diva in Teardrop, and Angel is a 6-minute ride into the abyss with the legendary reggae singer Horace Andy wailing over levee-busting drums, cinematic strings, and blasts of guitar. Quote, we like reclaiming the guitar, end quote, Daddy G told Rolling Stone. People say black music shouldn't have heavy guitar, but who invented all that heavy shit? Jimi Hendrix,
That's true.
end quote. What'd you guys think about Massive Attack? It was fucking different, right?
Yeah.
It's very different.
I mean, this is the first kind of deep dive into
Like an electronic band.
super, like real
Trip hop.
electronic.
But yeah, it's brooding. You know what I mean? It's got
It's very dark.
fucking
Yeah,
dark.
yeah.
I think I wrote down that, on the very first track, I wrote dark and brooding on Angel.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
I wrote
And
that
that
the
you didn't write anything.
He didn't write shit.
You
Oh, he wrote it down on his phone.
Oh, there he goes. He's so young, he's digital.
Damn.
He started off
You're
strong. He
hip.
thought he was going to
He's
just
hip.
go ahead without looking.
Hey,
I know he is.
didn't actually write what I'm about to say. I thought I wrote.
What did you think you wrote?
I thought I wrote that there are songs where there are female vocalists
Yes.
and there are songs where there are male vocalists. I don't know if it's the same guy every time, but
There's two guys.
okay. Some of them reminded me of like a super dark Pet Shop Boys.
Yeah,
where
that
he's just
makes
kind
sense.
of like talking over an electronic beat.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what it made me think of.
Yeah.
Did you like? Oh, so just broad brushstrokes. Did you like the guys?
I preferred the females, but
Yeah.
I liked the majority of the guys' songs. There's like, I think it's the fourth track is really good.
Inertia Creeps.
Yes,
Yeah.
Inertia Creeps has a really cool rhythm section in it.
That was like their big hit off that one.
okay.
They're like,
When Inertia Creeps starts up, and you got those drums kind of working the toms.
Yeah, they're
I was
so
just
good.
expecting somebody to go, ooh, wah. I just had that fucking. I'm like, this is
that was pretty
hysterical.
fucking good, dude.
Yeah,
You like that?
I was thinking
He's been
Tool.
practicing
I was
for
thinking
years.
Tool a little bit on that actually at the beginning of Inertia
I love
Creeps.
the drums.
Yeah, same.
On it. So
Yeah.
good.
yeah.
But back to the vocals, I did not really love the male vocals at all.
No,
That was like
yeah.
a thought that I wrote on several songs. Was I loved the female vocals. Liz Fraser killed it on this. It's almost cringy to me. Like a lot of the male vocals, it sounded like they were trying to sound seductive or something. They were like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
And
kind of
the
aged
lyrical
poorly.
content had that vibe too.
Yeah,
like almost uncomfortable a couple times.
It's
Yeah.
kind of aged poorly, which isn't really their fault, but it just
That's true.
it reminds me so much of like a 90s but like the shitty part of the 90s that I want to forget about.
reminded me of Bruno, the
I
movie.
God damn it. I
James,
don't-
sorry, go ahead.
No, go for it.
Well, I was going to ask JB if do you feel like if Liz Fraser wasn't on this album, you would have felt different about the men?
I feel like
male
I just
vocals.
would have liked the album less. You know, I think I would have.
Yeah, okay.
Like, did it provide enough contrast that I was like, oh, you know, now that I've listened to her, I don't like those guys. I don't think so. I think I just didn't like them either way. You know.
Yeah,
That's how I felt
I can-
about
I
the
can
male
feel that.
vocalist. The male vocalist didn't
yeah.
do
The
it
album,
for me.
the album overall wouldn't have been as good. I think she steals the show for me on this whole album.
He had a line in Inertia Creeps
Yeah.
that I kind of liked it. It was him describing sex, and he said undernourished egos and 4 rotating hips, which is probably the same thing that you didn't like hearing this guy talk
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah.
But to me, it was funny just the way he deconstructed that. Like I thought it was interesting.
Undernourished egos. Yeah.
I'm not listen. And again, lyrically, I didn't necessarily have an issue with it. I just didn't like the tonality.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's awkward.
It was weird, and I don't think it fit with the music very well.
It sounded almost like it was comical. Like it kind of reminded me of Flight of the Conchords. Like those two guys. Like seriously, a couple tracks that they did.
But worse though.
Yeah, well, yeah, way worse than those guys.
But I loved the female vocals.
Yeah.
I was seriously,
Like,
Liz Fraser, fantastic.
All of the textures that you get between the beats and the synths and everything, and of course I wrote dark as well. Like we all wrote dark,
Yeah,
but I wrote sinister.
Yeah.
You know,
Yep.
because that's really the jam that I got there. But then you have all of this kind of almost like dark Black Cauldron kind of shit happening with the beats, and then all of a sudden you have this voice that kind of breaks through that.
Yeah.
And I love that dynamic where it's literally like a counterweight of all of this fucking heavy beat and production, and then you just get this beautiful angelic type of voice.
Yeah,
that
she was
sits over
really
the
cool.
top of it. That works for me.
She
Like
kinda
that works for
reminded-
me every single time.
Well, that was
Yeah.
closer to Portishead, right? Like that's more of like the
Very
Portishead
Portishead.
model.
Very
model.
Portishead.
But again, like one of the thoughts I had was for like the trip hoppier kind of tunes, I rather do Portishead, and then for like the dark, there was some almost like borderline industrial shit on this record.
Yes.
And I was like, I'd rather do Nine Inch Nails, rather do early Nine Inch Nails. That either one of those guys I prefer. And I didn't dislike this. Like it was cool, you know, and I'm glad I listened to it. But
That
that
just
was
kinda-
kind of
circles back to the last album.
Exactly.
Like, it just makes you want to listen to the shit you like that this reminds you of. I think
Yep.
A little
Angel
bit.
starting off when you mentioned Angel, like the song jams. The more it progresses, the more it picks up. It's really repetitive, which I'm not super like a fan of most times, but just the cadence, and then when the guitar kicks in with the distortion, it jams after a while. And I wrote down it reminded me of like a WWF entrance song. Like once it gets halfway through, it's like I can see it.
I will say they surprised me a few times. I was going through and like I've never really gone through and assigned like a rating to the songs, but I know you guys have done that before.
Mhm.
You know, star ratings and stuff.
yeah, we do that.
So I was doing that. What I was finding was I would do it halfway through a song, and then it would start to lose me, and I would start to question how much of a rating I was going to give it. And then they would add something in the last like minute or so that was really cool, and my ratings would kind of swing. Like
Kind of
they
fluctuate
had
a
some
little
really cool stuff that they were doing in there, especially like towards the end of tracks. They would kind of throw away pieces that I thought might sounded like good actual like foundations for a different song or something too.
bit. And they were just kind of like afterthoughts to them. Is what
Yeah, I thought it was pretty. They were pretty like they're very talented. I think.
I think so too. So interesting note with this. I was reading about the production of this album. So there's basically like 4 DJs that make up Massive Attack. There was one primary guy that was kind of heading all like putting all these tracks together. And apparently this was like there was a lot of strife between the 4 of these guys
Yeah.
when they were trying to create this album. And so the one main dude that would sit in there to try to put it all together, like one of the other guys would come in and he would say, I want to work on this song. And he would sit down and he would start to work on that song until said man got pissed off. And then he would storm out and somebody else would come in and say, I don't want to work on that fucking song. I want to work on this song. And then they would completely switch gears. And I don't wonder if that's not part of what you're talking about, right? Because if you have this like dysfunctional environment where people aren't collaborating as much as you would think that they would collaborate, and they're kind of coming and going, that you get a little bit more of almost like a broken up type movement feel to some of these tracks.
Like I love this 30 seconds you just put together, but we don't have time or resources to make this into a
flesh
whole
that
song.
out. Yeah, exactly.
Or you get too pissed off at the other guy to want to flush it out.
Yeah.
So you just say, fuck off. Like,
and
I'm
you end
done.
up with a dark, brooding album.
Right.
This album was way different than the 2 before it too. Like they had
Yes.
a much brighter sound.
much brighter sound
going
on the
into
previous
this.
ones.
This is completely different from what they were
Yes.
doing all the way up.
This
Really?
was their
See,
last one, right?
before they kinda
Correct.
started to
Before
split
they
up.
broke up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is interesting. Like, I love the idea that this album was, you know, kind of like the last big bang before a star
Well,
exploded.
that kind of ties in with Abbey Road too, because Abbey Road was the last thing the Beatles recorded, and the whole back half of that is like fragments of songs that they wove together, right? Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
if you can't stand to be in the same room as somebody, but they wrote something really
But
cool,
they wrote something really cool.
you can patch it together.
Yeah.
Did
Where
the
do-
third track sound familiar to anybody?
Yeah. Or wait, which one was that? Was that
Teardrop?
Teardrop? Yeah. That was the only song that I was familiar with off of this album going into it.
What do you
And
got? What's it from?
But this is the
Um,
theme song from House
Yeah.
MD.
The show.
Oh, really?
House MD.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah.
I used to watch that too, but I don't remember that.
That's weird.
My
I never really
fiance-
watched that show.
My fiance had posted that like on her story or something. Was just came up on her shuffle 6 months ago or something.
What?
And I'd never even heard of Massive Attack, and she had just put up a screenshot of it playing on her phone, and so that's when I had gone to check it out. So when you guys sent the albums over, like what we're gonna be
You're
doing,
like, oh,
I saw
shit.
that album cover. I'm like,
You're like, I know that.
random.
I just want to point out that in Sean's notes, he wrote Elizabeth Fraser in all caps multiple times.
Yeah, because she, like I
She's
said,
so
she
hot,
stands
too.
out, man.
She's
Elizabeth
awesome.
Fraser.
I did write her a couple times
Did
too.
you
yeah.
did you any of you guys see anywhere that reportedly, this is what I read, that was almost Madonna on Teardrop.
They were gonna
She-
pick
Really?
Madonna for that.
They were
Wow.
they actually like deferred from Madonna and went with Elizabeth Fraser.
They made the right call.
Good call.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
it worked out.
I
Yeah.
couldn't
Good call.
imagine that. That would have made that whole song a different vibe. It would have made the band different.
That's right,
You know what I
yeah.
mean?
It would have been
it would've-
distracting too.
Yeah, of course. It would have overtaken the whole thing that they were going for.
Yeah.
What do you like? I mean, what do you think about it relative to the list?
I think it's fine on the list. I would lower it.
I don't feel super strong about it being on the list personally.
Wow. Okay.
I feel like a lot of albums that up to this point have been solely on the list because of their influence, not necessarily the content on the album.
Mhm.
I feel like this definitely deserves a place for exactly that. Just
For
like
the
the way that
content.
it influenced
For
other
For the influence.
Oh, for the influence.
musicians.
Yeah,
But the
and-
content, I would put it much lower on the list. I would
And-
keep it there for the.
No, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I'd keep it there for the influence, but musically, I wouldn't put that high on the list.
Just speaking to that, like in terms of, I think this list in some ways did a pretty poor job of representing some genres. Like we've talked about how there are so few country albums.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you look into jazz at all, like this, I've looked ahead a bit. This jazz list, like this sucks. This list sucks
criminal,
for
right?
jazz.
Yeah.
Like some really glaring, horrible omissions. So in that sense, I think that there probably should be more than one trip hop album.
Yeah.
And
there it is.
assuming that Portishead is going to be on there, like I do think there should be more than just Portishead. And this is the second best thing I've ever heard in terms of trip hop. So to me, I think it belongs on the list, but I don't think it needs to be very high.
I love
Yeah.
the genre, and where there were plenty of songs that I didn't feel really strongly about on this album. I love its representation and where it fits within electronic music. And I can't fathom that, at 321 we're gonna get a Skrillex or a Pretty Lights or a Bass
No.
Nectar or something like that. And so
Certainly not now.
no, yeah, not with Bass Nectar, certainly not now.
Yeah.
But I do want to see enough electronica on here represented. And I agree with you. And I cheated. Like, I know that we're going to get Portishead because it's funny. Like, you guys were talking about how if the Kinks make you want to listen to the Beatles, this makes you want to listen to Portishead. I listened to Dummy fucking 4 times on Sunday. Right? Like, because that's literally one of my favorite albums of all time. And so I like it. I even like the placement. I don't think that I would argue with this too much. If you wanted to drop it 20, that's fine.
It's fair.
But I like where it's at, and I really like some of the things that happen on this record.
I mean, it wouldn't be hard to name 20 albums that you've already heard that are worse than this album, right? So
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
I mean,
Definitely.
without a doubt.
It's almost an album that you have to see the songs through though too.
You do.
I mean, you can't just like give it a quick listen and
And
skip
they're all
forward,
long
'cause
too.
They are.
They are.
6-7 minutes. It's kind of tough to give it the attention that it
the fair
deserves,
shake.
but it does pay off. And if there was one that you're going to check out, in my opinion,
Mhm.
I would say go to the self-titled track, Mezzanine.
Oh, you like Mezzanine?
There's a sample that comes in at like 3 minutes and 11 seconds. And it fucking
It's so
jumps,
good.
dude. It jumps.
Yes,
and then as soon as the
yes.
bass line and shit kicks in with it, it just throws a completely different vibe at you.
I
And
love-
I made the exact
so
same note.
worth it.
I
It's
noticed-
so worth it.
I noted 330.
Yeah.
That was one of the
breakdown
songs.
Like
that
that
happens
entire
is
section right
so
there leading
dope.
up.
It's so good.
that was one of the songs I was talking about where I had it at like a 3 or 4. And then as soon as I heard that, I was like, that's a 5. Like
Yeah.
immediately, like
yeah,
Wow.
It changes your entire outlook on that song. I felt like it did for me anyhow.
I agree. I agree with you.
Man Next Door was actually a cover.
Was it really?
Yeah, it was like an old cover. It's like it was a ska reggae song originally.
Huh.
Had that typical old school Jamaican like vibe.
Yeah, but at the same
Steel
time,
drums, clear cut.
at the same time,
I kind of liked this song on here more because knowing it's a cover.
Who was it a cover of? Did you say?
Elizabeth Fraser.
Paragons.
Paragons.
Yeah.
Paragons.
Interesting.
And then also in the
I fucking hated
description-
that guy's voice, by the way.
Yeah, he was also a reggae artist. I forget his name. I didn't write
Horace,
it down. Yeah,
Andy,
yeah, okay,
Horace Andy, I
It said it
think.
in the description.
Yeah, it said it in the
But
description.
then they also mentioned, that he was singing over breaking snares or breaking drums.
Levy busting drums.
Yeah.
Levy busting.
Because when the levee breaks is that sample
Yes.
in the beginning.
Oh, that's the sample?
Yeah.
Son of a bitch. I really did hate your voice, though, Horace. I'm really sorry.
Hey,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sorry, not sorry, but I was not a fan of that voice. God damn it, I hated it.
So this
I
one
get
to
that.
me is an interesting in terms of whether you would want it on vinyl or not. I don't think it necessarily benefits from the vinyl format or anything, so I don't know that you would need that.
I don't know that I would get so attached to this album that I would want it on vinyl. I didn't add it to digital,
Neither did I.
and quite frankly, I did add Rocket to Russia, and I'm with you. I would love to find Rocket to Russia.
Hell
on
yeah.
vinyl.
And I added that to digital as well.
I'm not going to pay $100 for it, but
No.
but
I
I
paid
would,
$50 for it though.
I'd pay $20 on a reissue.
Yeah.
How about that?
Yeah, I would buy it. I wouldn't add it to digital, but I'm also glad I listened to it. Like, I'm glad that I got to experience it.
This
but-
you mean?
yeah, this
Yeah.
album.
Yeah.
But I don't feel any great urge to keep listening.
Yeah, I hear you.
I don't think I would own it on vinyl. I would add it to my digital though, only because I feel like this album to me was like, if I'm gonna go paint or I'm gonna do something like constructive, it's just
a great background
deep focus album.
Great background.
So I would definitely add it to my digital.
Great background.
I respect that.
I love that too. Let's talk because Rex also had some thoughts on this record. If I can get it to pull up. Okay, so Rex said, with noises sliding out of this album like it's fresh out of the bakery from a sequel to the movie Fight Club. I really like this record. It's great ambiance music to get shit done around the office. We're all saying the same thing. It's easy to listen to, and you meld into the and let it meld you into the music and into your day. Great album.
Yeah.
And I would tend to agree with that.
Yeah.
Like, that whole idea of just an ambient approach is
Yeah.
beautiful. Beautiful.
There was oh shit, I gotta flip back. Grammatic, like
Mhm.
the influence on that.
Yeah.
Exchange.
Yes.
The song on this album, Exchange. Super grammatic vibe.
That was my favorite one.
Yeah.
That was
I
your
didn't
favorite
mention
song?
that before, but yeah, that was my favorite tune.
That song was a banger.
I
It had a
loved it.
stand-up bass on it.
I know the
Yep.
stand-up bass
Yeah.
was fucking killer, dude.
Yeah.
It was really good. I made it
That
out
was
of
like a
too.
much brighter track than the rest of the entire
And it
album.
was chill. It was
Super
a
chill.
total vibe of itself. Yeah.
It almost reminded me of like made me think of not reminded me because it came much later, but made me think of Krongben a little bit, like the vibe on Exchange.
Kinda
Listen back
that-
to it.
Fascinating
that-
comparison.
Yeah, that kind of drawn back in the pocket groove. Like I can
Yes.
see that for sure.
Yeah.
If you haven't checked out Grammatic, if you like that track, I feel like you would definitely like Grammatic.
I'm not super familiar. I know I've heard a little bit, but
Yeah.
What do you think?
Well,
Should we do it?
382.
Moving on. 382.
It's on to you.
Tame Impala. Currents coming up at 382 from 2015. Aussie studio whiz Kevin Parker found surprising mainstream success with his band's refined neo-psychedelia, thanks in large part to the danceable ease of songs like the hit Let It Happen. Tame Impala's breakthrough is a modern take on trippy bliss, burying vague intimations of displacements and anxiety under pillows of soft neon synths and Parker's twee Bee Gees, that's a confusing thing to try to read, falsetto. After Currents, he was getting calls to work with Lady Gaga and Kanye West, and Rihanna was covering one of his songs. I'm going to run to the restroom quick while you guys think about that one.
Oh,
That Rihanna cover is great, by the way.
yes. I love this record. I love this record a lot. And actually, all I'm doing right now is I'm just kind of jumping back and forth because I never took the time today since you and I talked about Tame Impala to try to figure
So
out.
I was partially, very, very minutely correct.
As
How
usual.
so- how
That's-
so exactly?
so
That's
with-
as correct as Sean gets usually.
100% of the time. But no, so the first two albums leading up to this, he didn't record absolutely everything. He wrote everything, produced everything, but he wasn't performing absolutely everything. This was the first album that he did everything on his own.
Really?
but But to be
but the amount that was contributed on the first two albums,
super minimal
he is responsible for everything.
for everything.
Yes.
Because like
But this
now
was the first album, like we had talked about, and it is totally apparent in the drum tracks, specifically for me.
yeah.
Like this was when he recorded everything on the album.
Well, but check this out. I'm on Lonerism. I'm looking at Lonerism right now. Lonerism, he recorded every single thing with the exception of pianos and keys on 2 songs, 3 and 9. And then
also drums.
No, a spoken word. Look, I'm looking at it. I
Sean's
swear
like,
to God,
no,
I'm
I
looking
disagree
at it
with you and
right
your
now.
computer.
Yeah, well, yeah. What I read, it was I forget the guy's name, but he was the touring drummer who also performed on Lonerism.
Now you might be thinking of Inner Speaker, because Inner Speaker has Don Simper did a bass guitar on track 9, he did additional guitar on track 10, and he did sound effects on track 7, but Jay Watson did drums on track 6 and 9.
Out of everything Kevin does, you think he would have just took the reins on bass?
Jesus,
Like,
come
why would he
on,
have somebody
let's
else
not
do it?
shit on bass.
I'm not
Come
trying to.
on.
No, I'm not shitting on it, but because it's the simple fact of Currents, it's fucking bass driven, synth and bass. Like he's got
Yeah,
arguably one of the best bass tones ever, right?
yeah.
The bass is the tambourine of guitars.
Jesus.
I don't really believe that, just for the record.
I do want to ask you guys though, because I know ahead of time you guys love the first 2 Tame Impala albums.
I would definitely take Lonerism over Currents.
Are you
So,
the same?
I love Lonerism the most, and I also love Inner Speaker. I like Inner Speaker more than Currents, but I think Lonerism is the perfect midway point between the two.
Agreed.
It's
Sure.
it's more out there than Inner Speaker, because Inner Speaker is pretty repetitive and just very guitar driven rock.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's hard for me with Currents, because as much as I love it and I think it's basically a perfect album, like to me it spells the end of the Tame Impala that I loved. Because he's never going back. Like I don't think he's going to go back to what he did before that.
Yeah. I don't know that he would want to. Do you think that those first 2 albums were more simplistic? Is that a fair statement?
Yes and no. I feel like on both, because when you listen to the instrumentation of it, like I feel like there's a lot more happening on those first 2 albums. I wouldn't necessarily say that I like both of them more so than Currents. I think Lonerism is probably my go-to, and then Currents.
Okay.
Because I mean, the less I know, the better. The Moment, eventually.
I love it.
The Less I Know the Better has maybe one of my favorite bass lines.
New
of all
Person,
time.
Same Old Mistakes. New Person, Same Old Mistakes is probably my favorite Tame Impala song.
I think Eventually is my favorite.
Yeah, Eventually is a banger.
Eventually just hits so hard, the way that they like resolve the chorus.
Excuse me, I'm gonna take a
and the
bathroom
way that he just, oh man, the way that chorus settles in and the way that those chords just bang into the middle of it, it's so grandiose, but it's not pompous, if that makes sense. It's just really big and it works in
It's
this.
huge.
Well,
That's like the word I kind of
It's
not to
such a
dive
monster, man.
We
It's
had
so
we
big.
had the pleasure of being able to see them live at Bonnaroo one year,
in, but dang.
and that song definitely
Damn.
translates live. You can just feel the energy blasting out of the speakers,
and you can feel the
at those
bass
peaks.
in the middle of your chest, just like, it's
So I missed
so
So I missed the first part here. Which way is the wind blowing here? Is everybody liking Tame
So
Impala?
Sean and I prefer Lonerism, which is another album of theirs, but we all love it.
Yeah.
We all love it. Okay. I do.
I mean,
too.
I love it.
Yeah, I do too. I do have to say, Shane Parker, who was an applicant, I don't know, hopefully this won't affect his hiring, but he did not love this. And he,
What did he
in
say?
fact, well, he didn't
Let's
hate
get the
it.
counter.
He didn't hate it or anything, but he just is like, considering so many of the snubs, he just couldn't see putting this one on here. He said, this being a record from 2015, he wants to see it in the bottom half at the very highest.
Justin, your
sorry,
job
the
is
bottom
safe.
100 at the very highest. Is
The
what
bottom
I mean.
100.
Yeah.
Your job is safe,
Well,
Justin.
he's only 18. He's only 18 away from that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is he really that pissed at 382?
Well, maybe he was saying bottom 50, but he says, I don't think he wanted it on there, to be clear, but he's saying
Sure.
maybe he would be okay with it. He thinks it needs to be closer to Harry Styles, is what he said.
Wow.
Wow. Yeah, that's crazy to me.
I say Justin keeps his job.
I dig it. You know what? But maybe he could be the assistant or the
That's true. Once he learns to love Tame Impala, then he can be promoted.
Yeah. Then you can be upgraded. Apparently, yeah.
I disagree, Shane. I think. Listen, I like contrary opinions, and so
So you're hired, is what we're saying.
Yeah, I mean, basically, but I do want to know why.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
What part of this record? And I get it if it's just, if it's just if it's the tone, if it's the instrumentation, I could understand all that because this album is so electronica relative to his first two records.
It's very electronic, and it's also kind of sad boy stuff. Like,
And Lonerism was much
I could
more
see how if you weren't
guitar-based.
like super weepy and like, oh, this girl doesn't like me and stuff. Like, I could see how
I don't
that
know. A
wouldn't
lot
be
of
your
it's
thing.
pretty happy though. What you
Yeah.
think? Like I feel like Past Life is pretty
I
uppity.
love
and
Past
I
Life.
fucking love that one, and like a really
Fuck,
cool
I love
lyrical
Past
thematic
Life, too.
idea too. Like, how has nobody thought of that? Like, I see a person, I recognize them, I can't figure out what it is. Oh, it's because they were my lover.
because they were my lover in a past life.
That's a cool idea.
God damn,
See,
it's a
those
cool
are the kind of
idea.
lyrics for me that I'm like, now I like those lyrics.
And the way that he did it too, right? Like he put that super heavy effect on his voice where he's like, the other day I was sitting inside of my car. And it's like this really intense fucking distorted
That is
voice
him
over the
doing
top.
it kind of sounded like
It
the
has to
lower
be him
voice.
doing it.
It kind of sounded
There's
like
no-
the
there's-
lower voice guy from Massive Attack almost.
Come on.
But
now.
better. This is
Thank
definitely.
you. Better.
But yeah, I
Definitely
I
better.
love Past Life. I also loved Cause I'm a Man. Cause I'm a man, a woman.
Yes.
Super cool, dreamy, psychedelic, fuzzy guitar going on. So, also, not to go off topic from what I just said, but throughout a lot of this, what stuck out to me a bunch was the bass lines. I don't know if anybody mentioned
Oh my
that yet
God.
before I was there.
Not
I'm
yet.
wondering, because he's obviously a multi-instrumentalist. If you guys haven't mentioned this yet, he recorded everything on the
Yeah,
entire album.
We talked
So
about that.
Yeah, we had a small dispute about that
Yeah.
this morning.
The Less I Know, the Better, I was saying, is one of my favorite bass lines. I've
I'm
ever
wondering
heard.
if he's not primarily a bass player or if
He's
that was
not.
like his first instrument. It wasn't?
Guitar, as far as I'm aware.
Interesting. Because like the bass lines are just all so great
The bass tone, man.
throughout all of this.
The
Yeah.
tone of this.
The tone is nuts. I agree.
Unreal.
Yeah.
I saw a funny quote from him where somebody asked him like if he meets a lot of girls and groupies on the road, and he said it's mostly just fat guitar nerds who want to know about his pedals.
Yep.
That'd be me. That'd be me.
That's any guitar player ever, right?
Yeah.
When you mentioned Past
Like
Life and I'm a Man, or Because I'm a Man, those were two songs that for me were just
Really?
until you actually like do get the lyrics downloaded in your brain. You're like getting the concept. That made up for it for me.
I'll go a step further and say that I still hate that song. That
Which one?
I'm a Man.
Yeah,
You didn't like that? Oh, I
It's
liked
so
it.
it's so cringy to me that I just skip it usually.
Oh man, I liked it.
this is gonna
Yeah.
sound. I don't know how this will sound, but the fact that like that's the title, it almost like came off misogynistic to a lot of listeners. I think, and like
Yeah,
It-
I can see that. Yeah.
critical. It was very critical, like feedback for him on that song too. But and then also having that title and that chorus and singing that way.
It's like the
Was almost
wimpiest
like-
song ever called "I'm a Man."
Is
Like,
that why you skip it?
I don't? It's
That's-
that's the whole package. It's everything you said,
That's kind of what I was alluding to. But
but it's just like it's
Wow,
so-
I'm just not with that at all. I like it.
So what I am curious about is when he says that he wouldn't want it on the list and it's too new and everything. Do you know if he's familiar with the rest of the material?
I don't think he is because
Okay.
I think this was new to him. So
He should definitely listen to Lonerism, and I would
which
be
was the follow
shocked.
or the previous. to
Yeah.
this was the follow up.
It's their second album, yeah. I would be shocked if anyone said Lonerism does not belong on the list. But I am concerned that this Rolling Stones list is not going to have Lonerism.
I think Lonerism is the only other one that I knew. Currents and Lonerism. He's had like 5. He just put a new one out this year, didn't he?
4 total, I believe.
There was a new one
4.
this year,
4,
though,
yeah,
right?
it was.
Yeah, pretty new.
Slow rush, slow
Yep.
burn, something like
Slow
that.
Rush, I think.
Slow rush. Yeah.
Throwing it back to you mentioned eventually. Did you read any of his like quotes or feedback about that song? Like after the album was out and he would do interviews about it. What made me like eventually more was the quote that he did in an interview. He's like, it's basically written about knowing that you're about to, or you're knowingly going to damage someone irreparably with the only consolation of a distant hope that they'll be all right eventually, because you know they aren't going to be now or soon.
Yeah, because it's a breakup song. Like it's a super hard
But
breakup
not
song
only
where
just
he's
a breakup song, but like being fed up and knowing that you're getting to this point in life, and like shit,
Yeah.
here comes this shitstorm that I'm about to drop. Yeah.
Dun, 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 dun.
Did anybody mention Gossip? It could be the standout track of the album.
Oh, come on now.
That was
You
super
fuck.
disorienting.
It just led into Less I Know the Better. I was just fucking around.
It's like a 45-second track, not a 45 minute.
minutes with it.
It was 45
Take it off
minutes
the
of
list.
panning. Yeah. But it was like synths that were panning back and forth between left to right. And it
Yeah.
made you want to pass out
A
almost.
lot going
Yeah,
on. right?
basically.
The less I know, the better
Like you
has
just
like
huffed a nitrous balloon or something in a fish lot.
Which so I was all for it. No.
the less I know, the better has some of the like saddest lyrics ever. Like
Yeah.
Right.
literally
Right.
just like, okay, I'll just wait for you for as long as I have to, but please don't like,
It's very,
please
very
don't make me wait forever.
it's very
I know.
Tom Petty-ish because like I feel like Tom Petty was the king of having these big bright songs that sound very like uplifting, and
Uplifting,
very
but they're
fun,
fucking
but the lyrics
sad
are
as
just
shit.
sad as fuck. Yeah.
The Smiths did that too. The Smiths
Oh,
had
yeah.
like really
Yeah.
happy, jangly guitars, and then it was just like the most depressing shit in a good way.
Yeah.
This, going back, and I apologize because I was in the bathroom, but I did hear you guys talking about, lonerism. Is that going to appear on this list? Is it not? I would honestly, I don't think so. I think this is the only Tame Impala that we get.
I think so
And
too,
that's
and that
because-
sucks.
I understand where you're coming from, but I also view everything that he's done as a progression, right? It's almost like an evolution. And similarly to what what album were we talking about? Were we talking about it was like a fully flushed out? I think it was In Rainbows, right? We were talking about how In Rainbows was
It was in Rainbows.
Yeah, they took everything that they were doing in the Bends and Kid A and OK Computer, and it came to fruition with Rainbows, where they were able to put it all together. That's
How you
kind
feel
of
about this one?
yeah, in a way, which is weird because their first two albums are guitar driven. They sound like classic kind of 60s guitar driven rock, and this doesn't sound anything like that in sound. But I view it as an evolution. And if you listen to all of his albums in order, when you get to this one, you almost say, well, of course, that's what he was going to make.
Well, yeah, I agree with that, but I also
And I love
I don't think all mutations increase fitness. So, I mean, it's possible to evolve and just become worse.
Yeah.
Only
Listen,
marginally
that's
so in
fair.
this case. Only marginally so. I love this album. I don't want to come
Yeah.
across like I hate this album.
I do too.
Hot take from Lee Stamper.
Are we-
Fuck Currents.
So we're all going to keep it on, right?
Oh yeah.
I would keep it on the list.
I own this on vinyl.
Do you?
It was already
Same.
part of my digital catalog. I love it. I mean, I've spun this vinyl multiple times.
I added it to digital, and I would love the vinyl on it. I'm down for the list. Honestly, I'd drop it down though. Hate to say it.
So your team Shane.
Just in the scope of 500 greatest albums of all time, for me, it's not
I can see
as
it.
high as it is now. I can see it being on the if it's fucking $4.99, if it's 500, it's a great album.
Yeah.
Because it's one of the 500 greatest albums of all time. I would put this 425 plus is what I said. But
So you're definitely going to put this in place of Britney Spears Blackout.
I would certainly do that. Yeah. But I mean, but
That's
again,
fair.
I'm cool. I'm
That's
happy
fair.
keeping it. Oh, you motherfucker. How did I not know to expect that?
That was amazing.
You were just waiting for a good
Fucking, that
opportunity
was-
there, huh?
Just
For
wait.
everybody not watching on YouTube, that was not a button, but I'm going to clip that fucking, I'm going to,
There it was. I was hoping that was going to be used at least once.
I totally want to cut that out of this episode and turn that into a fucking button.
I'm gonna
Instead of the
edit
sad
that over
trombone.
the harmonica.
I just thought I would add to what you were saying.
Yeah, it did because it kind
He
of
had to wait until you were talking too. He had to
Yeah.
just interrupt you with the fucking harmonica.
Of course, that's what he had to do.
All right, so you're going to drop it down.
Yep.
You're going to replace Britney Spears.
Now I'm
with
dropping
this
it way
one.
further, actually.
I would agree. I'd keep it on the list, but I don't know if I'd put it here. 500 albums.
Yeah.
25 or greater sounds fair.
I think we're too close to it to know. I think that in 20 years you're going to say it's obviously a
It
top
could be that
500
case.
album.
It could be. That
No,
could
I
be
think
the
it is
case.
a top
That could be.
500 album, especially.
I kind of
the
like
fact
that.
So, do you
everything-
think this album could have used more harmonica?
I think almost any album,
Almost any album, huh? All right.
except for Stephen Jenkins' solo harmonica albums.
Bottom
I
line,
don't think
Could
he
use
needed a
little bit
second one.
Bottom line, if you haven't listened to this record, you definitely should. There's a ton to check out, and yeah, you should go check it out.
You should listen to every Tame Impala album.
I will. I like this one a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you haven't heard Lonerism or what is Inner Speaker, right?
I haven't heard that one. I've heard Lonerism, but not that one or not the new one.
Yeah. The new one I'm not so hot on, but
Really?
admittedly, I have not spent I haven't spent
hardly
any
time with
yeah, I
it,
haven't
so.
hardly spent any time with it because as soon as I start listening to it, I think to myself, I should just fucking
Go
listen to
back and listen to
Currents,
Currents.
or I should just listen to
The Beatles.
Lonerism or the Beatles.
The Beatles. That's if you take away anything from this podcast in general, it's just that the Beatles are better than everything. And
True.
just listen to the Beatles.
381.
You don't think so, Sean?
Sean's like,
over there
fuck
like,
you.
Yeah, I wouldn't say fuck you, but I wouldn't necessarily say better than everything.
Okay, we can't
Yeah.
do this.
I was
But I'm also-
I was using
I
hyperbole
have to-
there.
I have to let this be known also. Like, I will absolutely fucking love the songs that I like from a band, but the stuff I don't like, fucking get it out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so
I hear you.
You fucking hate Rocky Raccoon, don't you?
have you heard Jack Johnson cover that?
Oh God,
A fucking
please stop.
snooze fest, dude.
Yeah, that's every Jack Johnson song.
Yeah, that's fair, I suppose.
That's like what we put on to go to sleep at night, pretty much.
Snooze
Yeah.
fest.
Banana pancakes.
I love
Oh,
Rocky Raccoon.
God.
I love that's actually like one of early on. That was one of the first Beatles songs that I had heard that wasn't just a
Wait, banana pancakes?
Banana pancakes.
fucking goddamn it. Rocky Raccoon, you assholes. Next album.
Okay, moving on. Per Sean.
All
All
right.
right. This is you. Yeah.
1, 3, 5.
Sorry,
son.
I apologize, dude. I didn't mean to step on your toes there.
All right. The last album for tonight, 381. Leonard Skinner. Pronounced Leonard Skinner. From
I don't actually
1973.
Wait,
think
how is
that's
it
how it's
pronounced?
I know. Okay, so
Leonard
from
Skinner.
1973, Leonard Skinner's album entitled Pronounced La Nerd Skin Nerd. Southern rock icons, Leonard Skinner took their name from their high school gym teacher, Leonard Skinner.
Is that the truth?
Fuck
Yeah, you didn't
me,
know that?
dude. I should have fucking read this first. Jesus Christ.
You didn't know that.
I
Okay.
didn't know that shit either.
I'm going to start over again. Rolling Stone says Southern rock icons Leonard Skinner took their name from their high school gym teacher, Leonard Skinner, who tried to make
Wait,
them.
really? Sorry.
The best part of this is that Mike was insistent that he had to read it, and now he's reading it and he's regretting everything.
Sorry,
Who-
Mike. I'll turn my mic off.
who tried to make them cut their hair. Parenthetically, he later became a fan. Skinner lived fast, played hard, and went down in a tragic 1977 plane crash. On their debut, Ronnie Van Sant flexes his wise-ass drawl in Gimme 3 Steps, protests racism in Things Going On, and honors his mama in Simple Man. But the peak is Freebird, 9 minutes of dueling guitars from Alan Collins and Gary Rossington, now and forever the ultimate air guitar epic. Hit me.
What do
Is
you?
this-
How do you feel about that description? And give me 3 steps.
Dan, give me 3 steps.
Okay.
Just get into it.
Let's
You
just-
alluded to it earlier.
Let's just get this out into the open.
Let me just start before he
Give
does
Me
it.
3 Steps is a fucking huge hit. Huge hit off this album. I'm sure that everybody in this room knows the song and they're like, yeah, that song's so fun. I'm not a lyrics guy.
Keep in mind that Mike has never had a gun pointed in his face. Before continuing,
Yeah. I served in the Marine Corps, but I've never had a gun pointed in my face.
Have you ever held one?
I've never even held one
Never
either.
even seen a gun.
No, the closest I've ever got is my wiener.
No, 22, eh?
Listen. Touche, which is French for touch. So anytime.
Anytime you want.
So I will say this. It's not difficult to understand the lyrics on Leonard Skinner. Like, you don't have to read the lyrics, to get them. And every time I heard Give Me 3 Steps, I was like, yeah, that's kind of clever, right? He's like, give me 3 steps, give me 3 steps for the door, because this guy's pissed off because he was trying to hang out with Linda, Lou, and this guy's mad at him, so he pulls a gun on him. Fuck this song, dude. This song fucking blows, man. And think about, okay, so this is my frame of reference here. Leonard Skinner, if you think about Leonard Skinner, when I think of Leonard Skinner fans, it's like all these guys that are super kind of macho and
Definitely.
the South will rise again.
Yeah,
type
you're
of
right.
shit,
You're right on that.
For
Yeah.
Leonard Skinner.
And
so
Mike's
the-
intimidated by that.
God bless America.
super intimidated. And so the idea that they're going to like chant and sing along to a song where literally one of the lines is, I ran from the bar screaming and I ran like I was screaming for a mile.
Yeah.
What the fuck, dude?
See, I
This
haven't
is like the biggest chicken shit on the face of the planet. And don't fucking give me the shit because the guy had a fucking gun. Fuck you. Take the fucking gun.
Yeah, guns aren't scary. What he should have done is he should have done a spinning.
Yeah, guns
Damn
aren't
it.
scary.
He should have done a
Fuck
spinning
him.
wheel kick and kicked it out of his hand and then gouged his eyes out and then killed the
Fucking
guy with his own gun.
Steven
The
Seagal would
guy
have.
with his, that's certainly what
Steven Seagal
would have
would've.
done. Yeah, he would have Steven.
Why didn't he just
Seagal'd
like
him.
grab the top of the gun and like take it apart? I've seen that shit in movies.
We're not all Marines, Mike.
Why didn't he
Fuck.
do what Magneto did in X-Men?
Yeah,
With the
just
metal
take
thing.
it apart
Yeah.
with his mind.
Yeah, I don't know.
God, he's got yellow hair. He's fucking magical. He's like Thor.
You
Why
know-
didn't he use his fucking hammer and just smash it?
Mike, I'm not going to disagree with you on the lyrics, though. I think they're dumb too.
They are dumb.
The
Yeah.
lyrics are absolutely dumb, but that
Yeah.
bass line,
Yeah, the
How
music
about
of I like the-
every bass line on this record?
All right.
Yeah.
The thing is that
Super
this story is something that really happened to him. And I don't think you guys can sit here and invalidate his experience. If he was scared, and that's an authentic feeling.
this guy was a.
so I'm just gonna go on a limb here.
Just fuck off.
You can identify with being scared. I'm just assuming.
I know.
Everybody
Yeah,
can
I
identify
get
with
scared
that.
when guns are in my face.
Oh, do you?
Yes, and I fucking run. I don't try to steal the guy's gun because guess what happens if you don't get his gun? He fucking kills you.
Let it
Unless
be
he
known.
doesn't know how to use the gun.
Let it be
These
known.
are all Southerners.
You
Like,
think
you don't
Lin-
know that he might.
They don't know
You
shit.
think
What if
Linda
it's
Lou's
unsafe?
boyfriend doesn't know how to use a gun?
I guarantee you that
He's the one that had the gun.
maybe.
We'll defer to Rick Yoder on this topic.
Let it be known to all of Lee Stamper's enemies, his weakness is guns.
Just brandish a firearm and Lee
Yeah.
Stamper will wet himself.
If you shoot him in the face, he goes down every time. Yeah.
You already outed my secret identity.
I
Now you're
apologize.
telling people how to kill me.
All right. So aside from just 3 steps, what'd you think of the album overall?
The songs, listen, the songs on this album that are great are really, really great. And the songs that aren't great are
Which ones weren't great to you other than giving me 3 steps? Because I don't know. I'm honestly wondering.
Where
Like, maybe you're gonna say Mississippi Kid or Poison Whiskey.
things going
which would
on.
be maybe the only 2 like kind of acceptable answers.
Things going on
or
were
maybe one of them.
Yeah.
okay. So here's the thing. Things going on was to me was a super basic bitch song. And it makes me really sad because now I just read this description where
Mike
clearly
doesn't
this
care about
is-
racial justice.
Obviously.
Digging in deeply. I like it.
I just thought his singing was boring. Like the vocals were boring.
And it was
relative
kinda
to
just
what
like
he
a-
was doing in the other songs.
And it was kind of just like a basic, like you said, country 2-steppy kind of. It was the least exciting tune.
It was a
Either that
basic
one or the
bitch
next one.
song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of
Yeah, and I don't-
lowered his register on that, right? Like, is that what
Yeah.
you're saying? It was just
And-
not as appealing because it was kind of down?
every part of that song.
And to your point, like
It was just
It's just kind of it's a chord progression that comes up in so many. I mean, it's like that's probably a 10,000 song chord progression is what's going on there.
yes.
But
And
what
that's
I
my
did
point.
like on that, I did like the piano on that.
to your point, you don't get to make just like an okay song and then be like, no, you have to like it because of how heavy the meaning is. You know, you still have to make a good song.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, so it's still a
Now-
weak song.
Now, all that being said, listen, racial justice does matter to me. And especially being recorded in 1973, I'll go back and I'll listen to it again because lyrics matter.
And when you're talking about, like you were saying, their audience,
Yeah.
there might not be a better audience for a song
For-
like that.
I completely agree. Right.
Yeah, when you first said that, I was like, for the time this came out, man, like, yeah.
And
I'd have
Dude,
to-
for now, if a
Okay.
Southern rock band came out with a song like
for
that,
sure.
it would be
For sure.
controversial with
it
their
would
fan
be
base.
hugely controversial with the fan base. So with that being said, I want to go back and I want to look at it through a different lens. But I'm telling you this, I'm not going to change my mind about what's happening musically
No, that's fair.
because it's just not very exciting. And I felt the same way about Mississippi Kid.
Mississippi Kid can
Now-
be taken off.
The mandolin was cool.
There was like 2 mandolins, wasn't it doubled up?
So I don't think so.
Or was
Like,
it-
because I was trying to figure that out.
Yeah.
I was like, at first, I was like, it's a 12-string guitar. And then I listened closer and I was like, no, it's a mandolin. And then I realized it's a mandolin panned to the right and a 12-string guitar panned to the left.
Yeah, I didn't listen to it too close. Like that's always been like I'm super familiar with this album for sure. This is like a staple growing up for me. And that song was always the one that I would skip. Just because it was just like
Things going
down
on?
tempo, or
Mississippi Kid.
Kid.
Yeah.
It was just down tempo, and it wasn't doing what I wanted to get from a Skinner album. You know what I mean? But when you go back to talk about the piano on any song, like Peter fucking Keys, unsung hero of this band.
Yeah. He adds a lot.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
He adds a lot.
If you just, I mean, everybody kind of gets that. All right, Leonard Skinner, dude, we got some fucking sweet ass guitar solos and shit. Nah, man. Go back, listen to every song, but pay attention to the piano, on everything you can do. Even when he's working an organ and he's just playing the backing chords, like it's tight as fuck, and he does everything that he's supposed to do.
I'm down. I'm down with that. And in fact, on the next song, Poison Whiskey, which again, it wasn't my favorite song, but the fucking Hammond on that.
The organ, yeah, so
Holy
good.
fuck, dude. The Hammond
That's what I'm saying.
smashes on that,
Yep.
dude. It's so good. Like
So
really, really good.
Yeah, I agree.
And when he plays that like honky tonk piano too in other songs,
Mhm.
Yeah.
That boogie
it just
woogie.
drops you straight into that whole vibe. Like you know exactly what that
Yes.
song is and where
Mhm.
where it's
Yeah.
going.
On balance, this is a great album.
Yeah.
Because when Leonard Skinner does stuff that works, it is unbelievable. Simple Man.
Well, I was
Simple
going to
Man
say
is
let's
the
talk
winner for
about
me.
the ones that do work, because
Yeah.
we've talked mainly about the deep cuts here. We haven't talked about the big ones.
And it's kind of hard because we did just kind of jump into the fact that he alluded to 3 Steps earlier, and it's like, where
3
the
Steps-
fuck do you start with this album? You know what I mean?
Because 3 Steps is a big one, but this album has Simple Man.
And
This
Freebird.
album has Tuesday's Gone, and
Tuesday's
then
Gone's
I'm
smashing.
assuming our discussion will culminate in Freebird. But let's first talk about how about Tuesday's Gone? What do you guys think
Amazing.
about that one?
Beautiful.
I mean,
yeah.
even
It's spectacular.
Tuesday's Gone, the second track. Does anybody have any notes on I Ain't the One? Like just starting off the first, like start at the beginning.
I mean, I put a star next to it. I dug it.
dude, I ain't.
It's a cool track.
It's a great guitar playing.
dude. It's so it's like the epitome.
It sets the
of-
vibe for the whole thing.
Yeah,
It really does.
absolutely.
It's like
sets the
a-
vibe for the album.
It's like
The
a 12-bar
bass is
blues
money.
tune,
Yeah,
and it's
absolutely.
just like a badass Southern rock 12-bar blues.
I love his vocals
to
on
kick
that
it off.
first track. I love
I
it.
do
His
too.
vocals throughout. He's a
Yeah.
fucking
Oh, phenomenal.
monster.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
This
Yeah.
whole album just reeks of Marlboros, and I love
Reds
I
too.
love it too.
Marlboro
Reds.
Reds, dude.
Reds.
Cowboy
Simple
Killer.
Man though, I mean, monster guitar riff. That's one that, like, I'm a music teacher and I teach that to like almost every fucking guitar student
Well,
I have.
because
Simple Man so good even Shinedown couldn't ruin it.
Yeah,
But
they
I
tried
feel-
despite their best efforts.
Skinner is the band, especially for guitar players. Like these guys make you want to learn guitar. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
big time.
And
Yeah.
when you're starting to learn guitar, like that's a good fucking place to start.
The tone.
for sure.
The,
The
tone,
tone is
is
killer.
like, unmistakable Skinner.
Tuesday's Gone is a vibe, like, and that's the thing about this album and Skinner alone. Like, it's, I mean, this is a great album to be on because a lot of their hits, aside from Sweet Home Alabama, are all right here on this album, and it doesn't get enough credit. I feel like amongst kids my age, anyway. For the musicianship, they're just classic songs. They're iconic songs, and people just kind of play them at the bar mindlessly. But
yeah, everything other than Sweet Home Alabama, you're right. Yeah,
I
Yeah.
think Leonard Skinner was almost a victim of their own success. Like they became
Sure.
so popular, especially Freebird. Like Freebird became so big that it became almost like a meme. And it,
Play
like,
Freebird!
no, it's not even a meme. It is somewhat of a joke almost.
It is a
Like,
joke.
it is,
You
which
joke
is
about
which
shit
is
at
so
every gig.
sad.
but
That's
that's
so
what
sad.
I was going to talk about that because we should talk about Freebird probably. Freebird.
Well,
We're
hang
kinda-
on,
yeah,
hang
we're-
on. Anecdotally, with Simple Man, that's the song that the producer of this record, if it were up to him, Simple Man is not on this record,
Weird.
which is fucking crazy.
So he's a
Wow.
dumbass.
Fire
So
him.
literally, the producer, when they started to cut Simple Man, the producer was like, "This is bullshit. This has no place on this record." The band literally told him, "Go sit in your car." No, I'm dead. It's
Listen
real.
to Simple
Like,
Man.
we'll take care of
They
this.
were like, "Go sit in your car." He went out. He sat in his car. The band recorded it, mixed it, and they were like, "Okay, now you can come back in." And then he produced the rest of the record. He
And
did
said,
not want.
okay.
He did not want that on the record
Oh, they
at all.
Okay, so he had
But the
nothing
band-
to do with that one.
That's right.
Yeah.
Because the band was like, "Fuck off, dude. This song is great. We love it. We want it on here." And in my opinion, that's the jam. That's
is.
the best song on the record.
With Freebird though, I mean, so we talk about it being a meme, but like there are a few songs more like culturally iconic than Freebird? Like, try to think of one.
Is that deserving though?
Yes.
It's an incredible song.
Really?
Fuck yeah.
You're
yes.
being jaded by how many times you've heard it and the fact that it has become a meme.
I do want to say the Freebird that has to stop.
Please stop that shit.
Like
Absolutely.
it lost its excitement so long. I just can't understand like the kind of person that does that.
It's no good for anybody. Like
it's just like I just picture like a guy like with his wife sitting at home. They're eating dinner. They're getting ready to go to a show. He's like,
mustard on his
I'm
shirt.
gonna do it, honey. I'm gonna fucking yell Freebird at the
do
show.
it.
It's gonna be awesome. And she's like, oh god.
She's just sitting there like awkwardly laughing because
Yeah.
doesn't want to get beat
She's like
up
trying
again.
to agree. Exactly. Yeah.
She doesn't want to get beat up.
You're not
again.
wrong. Yeah.
it's the same guy that wants to yell out at the comedy show, you know.
Can I say this? I don't dislike Freebird. Freebird is a really great song. I just wish it was 7 minutes and 42 seconds.
Don't you
instead
No
of
dare.
fucking
nine
way,
minutes
Mike.
and
dare.
Come
42
on, man.
seconds.
Dude,
Nope.
that transition to the solo.
Oh.
Yeah.
But
I love that part. That takes place. By the way, hey guys, that takes place at like
the drummer makes
5:15.
every transition in that entire song.
Totally.
And
Yeah. Absolutely.
I feel like yeah, it's a jaded thing to say about Skinner because they've been around for so long and everybody knows these songs. But I've said it this morning, dude. I feel like every fucking song on this album is a masterpiece. Like they're doing exactly what each song needs. There's nothing you can do to any of these songs aside from Mississippi Kid to make them better.
I'm not gonna die on this hill. I'm not gonna die on this
Fair,
hill.
because
I'm not gonna die on this hill because
You're wrong.
I could
No.
be mine could be the unpopular opinion. I don't think I'm the only person on the planet
Oh,
that
no.
holds the
Not
opinion
at all.
though.
I never
that-
anticipated that this was going to turn into us ganging up on Mike.
No,
I don't
and
think
I
we
don't
are.
feel
We're
like you guys are
no.
ganging up on me at all because I'm not categorically disagreeing with you. I'm just saying I would have edited that song a little bit.
I
That's
really
all I'm
think
saying.
though that if you played that
Exactly
song
what
to somebody who'd never heard it, like somehow you had someone who went their whole life and never heard that song, I think the first time you heard that, you would think it was a masterpiece.
yeah, you'd be blown away.
I had a high school kid in the barbershop today gearing up Indianapolis proms tomorrow. And I had a high school kid in my chair and there was one more kid sitting waiting and neither of them had heard it before. And they got it from front
They never
to
heard
back,
Freebird
dude. Never heard
before?
Freebird.
Like
Oh
Mike,
my god.
Like, didn't you post something saying like kids now talking about the 90s is like kids in the 90s
talking about the 60s,
right?
yeah.
And it's you've got to put it into perspective for that because and I mean me on a daily basis, man. I've got a constant flow of people coming in and out and in and out. That sounded awful, but it's easy.
Onlylee.com later tonight, folks.
It's easy to forget, you know, your age and your place, I guess, amongst like a social structure. And there's so many kids that'll come in and music is number one at my barbershop after the haircut.
After there.
When you guys, if you sit down and you tell me you have not heard Freebird, I don't give a shit how old you are.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Like,
Where's
I
your
think-
mom?
I think
She
if
just
like
dropped you off here. Let me tell her to come in here so we can have a talking to her.
Yeah.
Like I think if Marcus King had come out with that last month, you would think it was one of the greatest. Like you would think it was a fucking
And it's never
That's
been
fair.
done before.
That's super
Yeah.
fair.
Dude, fucking
What about a Marcus
Rob
King
Thomas?
cover of
Rob
Freebird? I would
Thomas
listen
could have
to
put that song out next month, dude, and stolen the fucking airwaves.
Well, we're
Easy.
trying to be
That's
realistic
easy.
here.
Mm,
Rob Thomas,
yeah, buddy.
easy.
Yeah.
All right, we can't get into that.
Scott Stapp.
I like Freebird. I'm
You think the guitar solo is too long or the
Yeah.
first half is too
Whoa.
long?
no the guitar solo.
The guitar's
Yeah, we're ganging up on Mike
it's not
now.
even so much
Yeah.
about the guitar for me, it's about the rhythmic changes. Like when they
It's a
stop and they're like
journey,
dun,
man.
dun, dun,
Yep.
dun, dun, and then you like think that this has to be it, and then they just dive right up dun, 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 and they go right back into it, you know.
That was a total
And that's-
Tenacious D
listen.
moment right there. We're gonna pick
And
up
like,
on that
honestly,
later.
nothing that they're doing in that, like from a guitar player standpoint, it's not like it like I could teach anybody what they're doing there. Like it's
That's
not like
the beauty
but
of it.
it's not about the specific guitar. It's about
It's straight up.
it's like a jam.
Hang on.
It's
Let
like
me,
a jam.
Let me make sure that I understand what you guys are saying. What you're saying is that it's not that it's complex because it's pretty easy,
and that's what. Yeah.
but it's just
Pretty
the-
easy if you're a
but
good
it-
lead guitar player.
The arrangement.
Can I fucking finish?
No.
No,
Quadcast.
All right.
go ahead,
Sorry,
Mike.
Mike.
Sorry,
Go ahead.
sorry guys. Well, you go ahead.
We love you.
I just want to reiterate what you're saying. It's not that it's complex and it's not that it's difficult to teach somebody. It's the fact that they've taken multiple simple things and put them together to
Yes.
make something amazing.
I feel like you're luring me into a trap here. I don't like it.
No, not only did they
It's not
put
a
them
trap.
together,
I'm
not
just
only,
reiterating what you're saying.
not only
Okay,
did they put them
What's the
together,
follow up to that?
No, that's what you just said.
they put them together
Yeah, I know.
exactly how it should.
In the
you know what I
perfect
mean?
way.
They're just doing pentatonic licks solo wise. You know what I'm saying?
I don't
It's
think you can play
exactly
that game
what they
because
need.
look at like John Frusciante's solos. Half of John Frusciante's solos I could play, and I suck at guitar. It's not about that. If it's perfect
know
for
if
the
that's true,
song,
Lee.
it's perfect.
Yeah, you never would have.
He's pretty damn good.
I wouldn't have thought of them or written them, but they're not that complex, is what I'm saying.
Some of it is.
Yeah, Frusciante is a terrible example.
No, he has some solos that are so basic. I could play you those, but it's not it doesn't mean that it's
Someone
not,
get a guitar.
Like, are you talking about like the guitar melody on Californication, like the lead?
Can you play Snow?
I'm talking about
Can
like
you play
Soul to
Snow?
Squeeze and those solos. I'm just the solos.
Dude, even worse example.
No, you're the worst example.
You're the worst example.
Anyway, I don't think that simplicity is something you can necessarily hold against it. Just because it's not hard to play doesn't mean it's not amazing.
I didn't.
But
say
where were you
simple.
going with
He was
that?
the one that said simple.
I did say it. Where were you? It sounded like you were trying to make a point.
You were leading him into a corner to
Yeah.
ambush him.
I don't
What's
think
your
he
point?
was. I don't think he was.
Fuck are you guys talking about?
You're
Were
trying
you
to,
not?
I'm
trying to
coming for
trick
you.
me.
No,
Okay.
I wasn't.
Where were you going with it then?
He went exactly
Just clarifying
where
what
he
you were
ended
saying?
up.
yeah,
Okay,
I was
yeah.
just clarifying that basically what you're saying.
But
is
I think
It
this
felt
is
like a trap.
no. Listen, what
a
you
nod to what we're saying. I think that's
Triggered his trap
that's
card.
why the songs are so good is because of the simplicity. Yes,
and that's listen. That's like
And we're not,
your
like, saying,
opinion, man. Which is cool. I'm not
I'm not trying to drive
denigrating
that in
this.
your head. I'm not saying like you don't.
And
understand it, but-
I'm totally fine with this. I enjoy Freebird. I would enjoy Freebird more if it was 7 minutes and 46 seconds long.
How long
That's
is
not.
it?
It's 9 minutes and 47 seconds. I just want to fucking cut like 2 minutes off the son of a bitch.
Mike
gotta-
is a.
you gotta
but
be
it's
somewhere?
okay.
We need to.
Sacrilege.
We just need to have Mike go sit in his car.
Go sit in your car for a little bit, Mike, and we'll
We'll
you
take
know,
this.
We'll take it from here.
I like it. I like it. I think
This
it's
is
just
how I
long
felt
enough
talking about the Radiohead song. Just so you know.
Listen,
So-
and you're good because I know exactly where you're at.
Now you know. Yeah.
Yes, I know exactly where you're at with video.
So we're all keeping this, obviously.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
honestly, like, I think it's
I
criminally
think there's
low.
a lot of shit that got overlooked through this discussion, but yes, we're keeping it.
Definitely.
Yeah, we're trying to do a serious podcast here, guys. So fucking tighten it up a little bit, okay?
Hey, dude, I didn't.
These fucking guests are totally ruining.
God damn it!
I didn't put out a
I said this was
resume
going to be okay,
to
Mike.
be here.
I know. I trusted these fucks.
We
God
came here to
damn it.
ruin it.
I know you did. Okay, so criminally low meaning
I think it needs to move at least 100 slots up. Honestly, like, how can the record that has Tuesday's Gone, Simple Man, and Freebird be this low on the list of the greatest albums of all time? Those songs are all cultural icons.
quick question.
Yeah.
Is this the only Leonard Skinner that we see on this list?
No.
You got to have Sweet Home Alabama on here, right? Whichever
Only-
record is on, that is on. I don't even know. What
Only
it is.
because of Peter Keys. The piano solo on Sweet Home Alabama will blow your mind.
I bet there's two more.
Yeah, he's right.
You think there's two more?
Do
I
you
think
know
that's
that
a
there's
very
two more, or do you
overlooked-
think there's two
I
more?
think there are. I haven't checked.
Yeah, I have no idea.
I have no idea either. I'm assuming it because Almost Home isn't that the name of the record with Sweet Home Alabama on it?
I'll find out.
Give Me Back My Bullets is
Yeah,
their
with-
last one,
with,
I
like,
think.
See, the only thing that could have made this album better was if it had "Give Me Back My Bullets" on it, and Ballad of Curtis Low.
Ballad of Curtis Lowe.
Ballad of
Yeah, we
Curtis
didn't think
Lowe
about
is
that one.
on the same album as Sweet Home
Yes,
Alabama.
yeah.
So
And that's
Sweet
like
Home,
the Confederate
Sweet Home
flag.
Alabama is on Second Helping,
Second Helping. My bad.
which
So Second Helping. I
And what's their last
has
one?
to be on this list.
that has Ballad of Curtis Lowe. I
Yeah.
honestly don't know any of the other songs on that one.
So that has to be here.
I'm sure
Somewhere.
that's on there. It's probably pretty fucking high because
What
it's
is-
Sweet Home
is,
Alabama. It's probably
uh,
one of the most famous
Is
songs
Needle
ever
and
written.
Spoon on that album?
No.
What album's that on?
Oh yeah, sorry, that is on there.
Yeah.
I apologize. Yep.
Dude, that's a fucking banger too, dude.
Okay. All right.
So, I could
so we
see, I
gotta
could
see
definitely
more.
see more.
Don't
So
ask
if-
me no questions is on there too. I guess I think I know that one too.
Yeah.
So if we see more, you still want to move this up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you want to see multiple Skinner north
I think
of 300?
regardless of whatever else is on here, I'll make the argument with the other one when it comes to that. and I'd probably honestly make the argument that this one belongs higher.
Yeah.
Where
I think
at, though?
Also,
Where are you putting it?
the time between those two albums being recorded, I think would definitely influence like where they go to. I think
I think this needs to be around 250.
Wow. Fuck.
That's
dude,
fair,
a big
dude.
jump, dude.
You don't think that's fair?
Yeah,
I mean,
is that where you're putting it
jump.
too?
It is a big jump.
I could
You're
say
putting it
Dude,
at
I think
250?
I mean personally in my life, like, dude, Simple Man, and I know I'm not alone in this, but when I was getting into music as a kid, like
I love that
11,
song.
12, dude, my mom had a basket of cassette tapes sitting in the living room. You know, my parents all listened to all kinds of different music. But when I finally started going in there and digging through the basket without asking or even like asking her what she wants me, like what she thinks I should listen to, the first song she sat me down with was this Simple Man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this whole album
That's a great song to play to a young
especially
kid,
for
too.
a
I'm
mother
talking-
son.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for a
Yeah.
mother son to a
Like,
young kid.
she
That's
sat
fucking
me
that's
down
powerful.
dude.
in
Your
the
mom's a
living room on the
baller.
living room floor, me, a stereo with a cassette player on it, and her on the other side of it.
That's pretty
You know,
cool.
Just turned
It's
up all
baller.
the way.
I do want to make the distinction from my point of view, though. Like, Lynyrd Skynyrd is not like one of my favorite bands or anything. I like them, and I like a lot of the songs on this. I'm just saying purely from this is one of the greatest albums of all time. It needs to be higher, regardless of my personal opinion. And I like a lot of this, but like this is just one of those for me. Objectively, this should be high on the list. Just
agree.
purely objectively.
If this album was at 300, I wouldn't be pissed.
Yeah.
I'm willing to move it up.
I put it
And
squarely.
that's the thing. Like, I like I want everybody to understand that I really, really liked this record. I
Yeah.
liked it a lot. The things that I'm nitpicking, I'm just that.
I shouldn't
I'm-
have just
I'm-
thrown you under the bus right when we started.
No, you're good. Because
No, it was awesome.
I'm really kind of nitpicking this shit.
Well,
Although
as
there's a
you
couple
should.
of tracks on here that are fucking throwaways.
Yeah,
The
you could
bass-
argue that.
There's not a single bass line on this record that I throw away though, because the bass playing on this record is heroically fun and good.
But
Like it's everything that I love about great bass playing.
Now, like leading up to this, have you paid that much attention to the bass on Lynyrd Skynyrd, or have you always like thought of them more as like a guitar-driven band?
No, funny enough, I've always thought about the piano
Yeah,
because I do think about the piano in tunes like
Peter
Sweet
Keys
Home
is
Alabama.
unreal.
Sweet
And
Home.
so,
yeah.
Like I think
He
when
doesn't
I
get
think
enough
about
credit
the
for being
sound
a
of
man.
Lynyrd Skynyrd, I think about the way that the piano stands out in
Mhm.
Lynyrd Skynyrd, not necessarily the bass playing. And so
But
this
it's still like it's mixed so well though. Like it
It's
shines when
beautifully.
it shines, when it's supposed to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But he'll take the back seat and he'll just sit there in the pocket and do exactly what he's
But his
supposed to
solos
do.
are the best.
yeah.
Oh, unreal.
I don't think that I'm willing. I don't want necessarily want to go 250 and above, but I'm definitely willing to move this up to somewhere in the neighborhood of 300.
I'd put it top 200. I think.
Top
Wow.
200. I like it. Yeah.
I also
That's
have
ballsy.
pretty
Yeah.
personal attachment to this too. This is one of my dad's favorite bands, so we spent a lot of time listening to them.
That's awesome.
Okay.
For my dad, it was mostly like The Doors and Lynyrd Skynyrd were his two.
What a
And
crazy
wow.
mix right there,
Wow.
dude. That's a weird mix.
like, how could you like Lynyrd Skynyrd so much and then have another band? That
Well,
sucks?
and he told me that one of his he
So
told
how
me
do you
For
that
the
feel?
record, we have not seen any Doors.
That's because they're all in the top 100.
exactly. Thank
Dude,
you.
I'm just ruffling feathers, dude.
No, I don't feel super.
he told me
If,
that
the,
one of
if
his
the Doors didn't have Jim Morrison in the band, I would love him so much more.
wow.
What
okay.
in the fuck
That's
did
a
you
crazy
just
thing to
say?
say.
I said it. I said it. I'm here to make.
Well,
You
statements, Mike.
can't lob a hand grenade into the middle of this beautiful table at
Just
the
go
end
ahead
of a
and
fucking
sit on it.
podcast.
Sit on it.
I thought I was an edgelord.
You know what?
Yes,
Listen,
Lord.
But you don't
Listen.
get paid to think, Lee Stamper.
just when I thought
You
we
get
would
paid to
make it,
dance around naked.
just when I thought we would make it to the end of a podcast and not say we have to have this piece of shit back on, we now have to have this piece of shit back on.
To listen to
At some
that
point.
bullshit?
For a Doors record.
What the fuck?
Who wants to hear some guy talk about how Jim Morrison sucks?
I do. I do, so that way we can back
think
him
it'd
into
be-
a corner like a little rat, just like you guys did with me with fucking Freebird.
That's
And we'll just needle him to death.
These are
Does he really suck? Does he really suck?
It's gonna be painful,
Motherfuckers.
Sean. So
Sean would never let
I don't know
anyone
if
put
I
him in
would-
the corner.
I don't know if I would agree. I don't know if I would agree to it.
We'll also make
I
him,
don't know.
we'll make him
I'm
strip
saying
down to
this
his underwear
strictly
before we
publicly.
start the podcast too. Son of a bitch.
only Sean doggone.
Only Sean.com.
Onlyshot.com.
We're not having offsprings.
I think we got 2 records. Did you read Rex's Tame Impala?
No, let's hit it.
Yeah.
I got it in front of me. Do you have it too?
I do too.
I'll read Tame Impala. You read Skinner.
Go.
All right. Currents, Tame Impala, Rex's thoughts. Whoa, I wasn't expecting to hear something like this following Massive Attack. I don't know what I'm listening to, and I'm okay with that. This is the oral version. That's AURAL for all those listening. Version of
Rex
Watching
is
Walls
educated.
Melt. Yeah, Watching Walls Melt. That is the only way I can describe it. This is an acoustic ear fuck, and I want to be held afterward. Afterward. Share a cigarette and told I'm pretty.
You're pretty, Rex.
You're pretty,
You are
Rex.
pretty, Rex. It's fucking incredible.
Okay, so for pronounce, I ain't typing all that. And then you butchered the shit out of Leonard Skinner.
Yeah, he left a couple Y's out of there.
A
Yeah.
couple of Y's are missing. Has Tuesdays Gone always been 7 minutes long, or have I been listening to a radio cut for all these years?
You've been listening to a radio cut for all these years. It's exactly what's been happening.
There are your
Yep.
fucking answers, Rex.
That's also about Sweet Home Alabama, though. That piano solo is cut out of the radio edit.
Mhm.
That's a criminal thing.
And that's what Mike wants to do to
Absolutely.
Freebird.
Mike wants to cut out the best 2 minutes of Freebird.
He wants to neuter it and ruin it.
If you haven't figured
let's
it
be
out
super
yet,
clear.
Mike produced this album.
I don't want a radio edit. I want like a hard edit.
He
So
wants
nobody
less solo.
ever has to hear 2 minutes of that solo.
He's like, you know what I hate
Coming
about
from a-
Freebird? The
This-
solo.
Coming from a jam band fan.
Will you mute them? You fucking
Sorry, dude, I
motherfucker.
got to join in on that.
Call him like I see him. I call him like I see him.
This song is too long. I'm going to go listen to that Ruby Waves again. That's 40 minutes.
Yeah, no shit. Yeah. So you guys, hey, did any of you guys ever go back to that like album that came out 20 years ago and they had a 45-minute Carini? I really wish
Were we
Freebird was
just listening
9
to
minutes.
that? Were we just listening to that earlier tonight? Okay. Listen, I'm wrong. Okay? Fuck all of you. I'm wrong. I get it.
There you go.
Rex goes on to say this album has the hits and some unexpected demos of them too. It's an instant classic jam band album. Come the Mr. Todd. A beautiful slice of 70s Southern rock. The last part, yes.
Yeah, jam band is a stretch with
Jam band's a
Skinner,
stretch.
except for maybe Freebird. But other than that, jam band is a stretch.
Yeah.
Allman Brothers are the jam. version.
Allman
Because-
Brothers are the jam version of Leonard.
But is
Skinner.
that because the Allman Brothers did it?
They did it first, though.
Well,
They
not
did it
only did it
first.
first, but they did it. Like Skinner didn't jam on anything.
But
No.
they could have, is what you're saying?
Yeah,
Yeah, they
like
could
they,
have. Yeah.
there's no, I don't think there's any argument with the fucking big guns they got coming on these albums in that band.
Yeah.
You don't think they could
No, they could have
fucking
if they wanted to.
type 2 all night?
Not as good as the Beatles, though.
Yeah, fuck, they're not as good as the Beatles. That's right. Thank you, Lee.
All right. So
Lee should start sending in his email every week like Rex does.
I know, like
And he
Rex
should be
does.
like, for each one, not as good as the Beatles. 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 And not as good as
Not
the
as good
Beatles.
as the Beatles.
Be careful what you wish for.
I know. I
I'm
know.
going to
We
be
might
reading
get
my
it.
emails soon.
Okay.
jeez.
So next week we got the next 5 coming up, and not to throw any potential guests under the bus, but we're definitely going to be bringing on potentially any number of special guests next week, because
Yeah.
next week we have this amazing mix of albums. At number 380 from 1959, the first thing we're going to talk about is Charles Mingus, the album Mingus
379 is Rush Moving Pictures.
potentially with special guest April Leonard, because that album is near and dear
I would
to
say
her heart.
with special guest
with
April Leonard.
special guest
Yeah.
April Leonard.
Near certainty.
Clear your calendar, young lady. You're coming back. 379 or no 378 from 1983. I'm super jacked on this because I have not spent a lot of time with this record.
Nor
It
have
is
I.
the self-titled debut from Run DMC.
We'll talk about this again, but I did see Run DMC live one time with
With Jam Master?
Kid Rock.
Oh, Jesus. Fucking- so not.
I saw him live with fucking Kid Rock.
Mike just found out who Kid Rock was earlier
That's
today.
true. Yeah.
Or yesterday.
Okay.
Wow, another yes. Is this me? 377 is
Yep.
yes. Fever to tell.
And just to be clear, that's the first yeah. It's not another.
Oh, I was thinking of the Go-Go's.
Yeah, you were.
That's what I was thinking of. Yeah.
This might be the best week, though.
The last
far.
album, exactly. So the last album that we're going to talk about with another special guest. He won't be live next week, but we're definitely going to have to phone in the one and only Lee.com's Main Squeeze, Lee Stamper, for the 1998 album from Neutral Milk Hotel, In the Aeroplane Over the Sea.
That's right. Yeah.
That is my favorite album. So spoiler
will-
alert.
we
I'm
will
gonna like
see you
Spoiler
there.
alert. Lee's going to like it. Yeah.
We'll see you there.
Yeah. Listen,
And we might have a special guest, Ben Williams, on next week. That's my father. He's in town. He's sitting behind me right now. You can't see him.
absolutely. He's off camera, as well as the rest of our live pseudo studio audience. This has been so much fun.
The whole
Lee,
family's here.
I know.
Yeah.
Lee, thank you for coming in. Sean, your first appearance, but you're going to be back.
Thank you for having me. I'll come
Will you
back
come back?
anytime, man.
Of course.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Let's do it.
Absolutely.
Lee?
Yeah.
Should have him on for a Doors album. That would be fire.
Yeah, that's that. Yeah, and you guys would be disappointed when I'm like, I wasn't just fucking with Mike.
I would like that conversation, though. So we should do that. Yeah.
Yeah, you'll be disappointed when you find out I was just fucking with Mike.
He
Yeah,
actually
I
loves the
I would love
Doors.
that conversation.
He loves the Doors. He's just
I'm just a
fucking with
really
Mike.
big Val Kilmer fan.
Thanks for listening, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
Mhm.
We'll see you next time. On Louis.com afterwards.
This list sucks. This list sucks. This list sucks. This list sucks. It sucks.
OnlyLee.com. Bye bye.
That was super fun. Of all the things I saw playing out, it wasn't Mike having to defend.